21st Century Archmage. Author, Kim Gwang-soo. Chapter 6, True Wealth. Levitation. Shwa. With my incantation, I felt the mana in my circle drain away with frightening speed. Oh, I'm up. I'm floating. At the same time, I rose into the air as if someone was lightly lifting my body. Magic was truly something that was constantly giving me surprises. I posed with my arms stretched forward in flight, as if I'd become a baby Superman. Oh, if I were to become an Archmage like Master, even world domination would be no problem. The uses for magic were limitless. Though this was the cutting-edge 21st century, there was no end to the things that could be done with magic. You could rob a bank using invisibility magic to hide yourself from people, and you'd even be able to peep on the women's baths, a land that would forever capture your curiosity. If you installed a safe warp magic circle, you would be able to travel the world as much as you wanted, whenever you wanted. Not only that, the various attack and defense spells could make you invincible. Furthermore, if you were to use extensive magic knowledge to develop new medicines, substances, or magic items, raking in a fortune would be as easy as pie. If I keep going straight like this, I should be able to reach the 4th circle, or even the 5th circle, in 4 years. The new mana channeling method that Master had been unable to learn despite creating it, the internal chi channeling that combined magic with the related paths, matched my hasty personality. What good would it be to become an old 8th circle Archmage at 100 years of age? My youth would be gone, and the beautiful girlfriends I would have been with would be reduced to bones and skin, and on the verge of returning to the ground. Let's learn in one go. I'll grow at a high speed that no one has achieved in the history of magic. There were 3 distinct mana circles that I could feel in my chest. I could feel that the mana in my upper and lower dungeons were forming circles while communicating with each other. 3rd circle magic isn't enough. At best, the greatest attack magic is merely lightning. Since I can't use strong magic, there's no magic I can use when I'm really in danger. Magic theories were whizzing through my mind. In order to cast magic instantly, without a formula and an incantation, you had to be 1 circle higher than the spell. So simply learning 3rd circle magic didn't mean much. Instead of slowly casting magic without any protection, it was faster and more effective to just use my fist. The 4th circle. My next goal is the 4th circle. Master had said, once a mage, always a mage. I had also somehow become a mage greedy for circles and magic knowledge. I'll learn flight magic. Then I'll go to the window where Yirin is sleeping, and, there was one lewd thought that fired up my fighting spirit. It was the reason I needed magic. And later, I plan on passing it down to my kids, too. After making 108 spells that were very useful in real life, of course. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Is this information accurate? Yes, Master. The Magician Company's private plane that we have been watching has been in Incheon International Airport for an extended time. And the person who used the plane is a 17-year-old high schooler named Kang Hyuk. A high schooler, you say? He's definitely that old man's disciple. That old man who treats money like his own blood wouldn't give away his plane otherwise. A middle-aged man in his 40s was sitting on a chair made with the finest crocodile skin. The white tiger hide and the 10 odd rifles hung on the walls as decorative pieces were a testament to the man's remarkable social standing. Send some useful kids to observe the kid named Kang Hyuk. Yes, Master. A man with a deep scar stretching from his right eye to his mouth bowed. The man in front, the one called Master, had horrible scars over his forehead and was one of the 3 heads of the triad. In Hong Kong, China, and the East, the sound of his name alone made people tremble. His name was Chong Li. He was one of the legendary killing machines in the triad who had risen to his current position by his fists alone. You old man, I've waited for this day. I can't do anything to you, but I'll trample all the sprouting mages you planted before they grow up. Arg. 20 or so years ago, he had gone into the Czech Republic for a contracted assassination and happened to become a mage. At first, he had thought of the old man as a lunatic who was building castles in the air, but after seeing the terrifying magic with his own eyes, Chong Li became a mage's disciple. However, unable to overcome the wall of the 3rd circle, even after several years of training. So Chong Li decided to kill the mage and take his fortune. There was an enormous fortune in the place called the Magic Tower, as well as an astronomical amount of money hidden away in every nation in the world. Even if he just robbed the Magic Tower, it held huge wealth that could start an organization with laughable ease. That's why he planned on murdering the old man, but he failed. An 8th circle Archmage. The upper circle magic he had only imagined was far greater than he'd ever thought. Expecting that Chong Li would betray him, the crazy mage had already laid magic traps all over the place, and Chong Li had been forced to bash his head into the ground in order to survive. Kang Hyuk, I sincerely hope you have the skills to survive me. Kukuku. Through the tenacious constitution he had been born with, and bloody training, Chong Li had trained 3rd circle magic to its very limits. Magic had gotten him to where he was now, and was the true source of his strength. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Hyuk, what should I do? I think my grades will fall this time. A man shouldn't cry just because his test scores fell a little. Kukuku. Our midterms have finally ended. Even for an Archmage, midterms were an unavoidable part of Korea's education curriculum. Jung Hyun was shaking as he held his last test paper, as if he had bombed his test. There's really no way for me to not love Master. Kukuku. I had grown smarter after learning magic. Truly, I had become so sharp that I could memorize everything in a book I read once while concentrating. And then I took the tests. There wasn't a single problem I couldn't answer. Now that I think about it, didn't Master say he also raised Einstein? Since he was said to have used about 20% of his brain, oh, then have I also come to possess such an outstanding brain? Like peeling an onion, I was discovering the immense benefits of magic one by one. If this kept going, I felt like I could even win a Nobel Prize. Ho ho, good work, everyone. But since the end of midterms doesn't mean that your life's exams are over, please don't lose steam and keep going strong. There's nothing to lose by studying, after all. Ho ho ho. Ms. Wong, the dreaded Snow White who deflated everyone's spirits every time she opened her mouth. She was blathering on without even knowing the feelings of the kids who had been liberated from exams. Teacher, my grandfather told me to bring over all my friends who finished their exams. Oh, really? You're saying Chairman Huang said that, right? Yes. He said he would invite everyone to our Osung Hotel. Just look at him. I had warned him not to flaunt his money, but Huang Sung-taek yapped through his snout with a proud look. The Osung Hotel is good. I was there not long ago, too, and the food is really flawless and tasty. The Osung Group was second to none in the Republic of Korea. As the direct grandson of that Osung Group's chairman, Huang Sung-taek was proudly treating the group like it was his. A bus has been prepared outside. We can go now. Ho ho, sound good. Everyone, your friend's grandfather invited us, so we all have to go, right? Let's play as much as we want today. Though she had been pressuring us to study because the end of midterms doesn't mean your life's exams are over just a moment ago, Ms. Wong's lips stretched ear to ear at the mere mention of an invitation to the hotel as she roused the kids. Wow, I heard the Osung Hotel buffet is tasty. We get to stuff ourselves today. Oh ho, it's good to have a well-off friend after all. Along with the Daehan Group, the Osung Group was one of the big conglomerates in Korea. The kids in the class were clamoring and looking forward to it. Well, if you're busy and don't want to go, then you don't need to force yourself to go. I'm especially saying this to those who could get lost from the hotel. Laughing coldly as he spoke, Huang Sung-taek looked at me. That brat. Arf. I had planned on giving him a scolding even if he hadn't said that. But now this Huang Sung-taek was really testing the limits of my patience. Fine, I'll go once. To see how well off you really are. I had never been to the Osung Hotel before in my life. I smiled as I ground my teeth. Mask the dagger in thy heart. A blade was hidden well within in my smile. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Isn't this nice? As expected of the Osung Hotel. Wearing our school uniforms, we all arrived at the Osung Hotel's buffet. The mellow sound of a 10-person chamber ensemble filled the air around what seemed to be over 100 different kinds of top-class dishes. The dishes were clamoring to be put into our impoverished stomachs. This is pretty good, isn't it? My house is nearby, and I won't have to worry about my meals, too. A ridiculous thought occurred to me as soon as I saw the Osung Hotel's buffet. Miss Manager. Yes, is there something wrong? I called the female staff member who seemed to be a manager. She was looking around while stiff with tension because the chairman's heir and his friends had come. How much is this? The manager, whose name tag read Lee Yun-shil, followed my finger to the buffet. At dinner time, it is about $120, including additional tax. But Daehan High School students and even their immediate family members get a 50% discount by the chairman's special orders. As befitting an employee at a top-class hotel, the manager put on a business smile and kindly explained. No, not that. How much is this hotel? What? The hotel. My nonchalant query about the hotel's price briefly confused the manager Lee Yun-shil. Our hotel is an unlisted company, so I do not know the exact price. But since it's $50 per unlisted share, I can say that about $1.2 million would be sufficient. Perhaps thinking that it was just a student's thoughtless remark, Manager Lee Yun-shil emphasized the $1.2 million part. What is your dream, miss? What? My dream? The manager lady thought for a brief moment while looking at me, a person asking weird questions instead of eating. She was probably thinking that I was asking all sorts of questions, even though I wasn't a matchmaker or life counselor. Of course, it's to be a hotel administrator, the biggest dream a hotelier can have. To that end, I have lived while doing my best. Oh, this lady is pretty cool. It was said that those who dream are beautiful. The pretty lady in her late 20s said that she wanted to become a hotel administrator with sparkling eyes. Then you'll get some good news soon. What? Good news? Asked manager Lee Yun-shil, failing to understand what I meant. I need a better place to eat, you see. So I was thinking about buying this hotel. I whispered quietly in her ear, as if telling a secret. But she was completely silent for a moment. If you really do take over the hotel, please leave the administration to me. I will make it the top hotel in all of Korea, no, the entire world. Manager Lee Yun-shil must have taken it as a joke, because she regained her composure after a moment and whispered into my ear with a grin. She was such a charming woman that I would want to introduce her to an older bro, if I had one. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Munch, munch. I dipped meaty king crab pieces in kiwi sauce and digged in. The taste is phenomenal. Even though our school meals were considered the best in the nation, they couldn't match up to a first-class hotel buffet. Moreover, having been unable to eat a proper meal for the past few days because my mom was gone, I was busy stuffing my face as I went around the buffet booths, thematically arranged by country, Korea, Japan, China, as well as cuisine from every continent. The seasoning is just right, and the ingredients are fresh, too. Kaya. Since the food was also made skillfully by the chefs, it's seriously the embodiment of perfection. Cooked to match the special characteristics of each dish, the full-course meal of delicacies melted gently on the tongue. You were hungry, weren't you, Hyuk? HM? Not really. It's just that I'm offended by our friend's consideration, so I'm eating up for him. But Yirin. Yeah. I called Yirin, who is only nibbling on a few kinds of salad, even in the face of global delicacies. My mom says this, but you've got to eat heartily to be able to pump out babies later when you get married, you know? Pump out? Puffed. This isn't the primeval times or anything. I was worrying about our future, and at my suggestive words, Co Yirin made a unique sound and blushed. Gosh, just looking at her makes me full. You two are acting weird? Whether it was coincidence or inevitable, Jung Hyun and I sat together. We were as inseparable as elastic bands and panties, after all. But Yirin sat next to us without reserve, making me happy. That made Jung Hyun, who had been stuffing his face with food, look at Yirin and me with suspicious eyes. The rascal, he's more perceptive than he looks. I was gratified by Jung Hyun's unexpected senses. You sure are eating as well as pigs. While Jung Hyun, Yirin, and I were happily eating our meal, we heard a voice in which all respect had seriously been thrown into a dish. Since you were begging like a loser in Europe, I suppose you're hungry. Cuckoo. Pig out, you retard. Would you look at these kids? The three young brats were ignoring the saying that you shouldn't mess with a dog when it's eating. They had appeared out of nowhere and were ignorantly pissing me off. Especially Hwang Sung-taek, who was wearing a big smirk on his face, even though he was just a lump of 300,000 years of bad luck. Should I give him a taste of hell today? I briefly fell into contemplation. Kang Hyuk, eat lots. When else will brats from poor families get to come to a place like this, after all? Cuckoo. Though I can feed you every day if you please me, the Crown Prince. Isn't that right, Co Yirin? T/N. I just realized it, but Hwang Sung-taek's nickname, Crown Prince, is a play-off of his last name. Crown Prince in Korean is Hwang Tae-ja. The barbs went from me to Yirin. Oomph. But the proud lily wasn't meant to answer a weed. Yirin made a humph sound as she turned her head to look out the window. This little brat seriously doesn't know what's really going on. The me of the past would have suffered a wounded pride, but after becoming a rich man who had nothing to be jealous of, Hwang Sung-taek's bitching was laughable. The chairman is coming. What? For the chairman to suddenly. As I was contemplating how to mess with Hwang Sung-taek so that the rumors would fly, the buffet entrance became noisy. Grandpa, Chairman Hwang Man Hyuk of the Osung Group. dragging a retinue of 10 or so attendants behind him. The chairman of the Osung group, Kang Hyuk, a person I'd seen often on TV, came inside. Seeing that, Hwang Sung-taek ran towards him like a puppy, calling his grandpa. LOL, short legs run in the family. With his grizzled hair, the 70-year-old chairman Hwang Hyuk crouched like he was taking a poo, a posture that matched his low height, to embrace his grandson. Ah, you rascal. You've grown so much you could get married the day after tomorrow, you rascal. Hwang Hyuk made a smile that made him look good-natured as he tousled his puppy's hair. Contrary to my fund manager, father cursing the chairman, calling him a vicious conglomerate that raised small businesses, he looked decent on the outside. He looked as mild as the generous KFC grandpa. Hello. Ho ho. I am Wang Sun-nyo, Sung-taek's homeroom teacher. It is an honor to meet you like this. Ho ho ho, said the snow-white Ms. Wang Sun-nyo, with a sophisticated air, just dripping with pretense. Ah, so you are Sung-taek's homeroom teacher. I should have sought you out and said my greetings, but we finally meet. Ho ho please. How could the person leading Osung Group, which drives South Korea, come to the school? I will look after Sung-taek both materially and emotionally, so please do not worry. Caked in makeup, Ms. Wang Sun-nyo defined the epitome of social life and flattery. If you do, I won't have anything to worry about. Then, I will send you a small token of my sincerity sometime. Please accept it. I leave Sung-taek, who will lead our Osung Group in the future, in your care. When else would you get to see the chairman of the great Osung Group paying his respects to a teacher? Moreover, at the words small token of my sincerity, Ms. Wang Sun-nyo beamed with joy, even under all that makeup. It was seriously embarrassing that she was our homeroom teacher. General manager. Yes, chairman. At the chairman's beckoning, the hotel's general manager answered immediately. Tell the kitchen to make their special menu. The friends of my grandson are here. Maybe you usually talk like this, but the end of Chairman Hwang's sentence trailed off lightly. Before you arrived, sir, I already informed each kitchen to make their special menu. As if he were frozen in front of a Lance Corporal Division commander in the army, the general manager was stock still before Chairman Hwang. TCH, the brat is that old man's grandson after all. I thought I could surmise why Hwang Sung-taek was so fucking rude. The person he had watched and learned from, his grandpa, just treated everyone under him like shit. That's why the young bastard had lost his sense of manners. All right, everyone, shouldn't we thank the chairman of the great Osung Group, Hwang Hyuk, who invited us today? Ms. Wang Sun-nyo emphasized the great Osung Group, part even though she wasn't even a public relations manager of the Osung Group. Thank you very much. Chairman, you're the best. Clap, clap, clap. For some reason, because there were only a few guests outside of our group, and it was mostly the kids from our class, the raucous greetings and applause vigorously filled the hall. Only Yirin and I were silent with apathetic expressions. Only Yirin and I were silent with apathetic expressions. Thank you. Now, please return your meals. It seems that the senseless appearance of an old man like me simply got in the way of your meal. As was appropriate for a tycoon who held politics and the economy in his hands, he presented himself as benevolent even in front of the kids. I know, your heart is no better than a coal-black crow. Unlike the other kids, I had heard of the Osung Group's extremely terrible deeds through my father. It was said that Hwang Hyuk's specialty was controlling skillful small businesses and either slowly cutting their unit prices or threatening them by picking on them to make them do as he wanted. Then everyone, please enjoy your time here before you go. Sung-taek, go take your friends who can make it to Osung Land tomorrow too. I'll let them know. T/N, Osung Land is a theme park like Disneyland. Thanks, Grandpa. He's seriously gonna roll over. Though he was all sorts of arrogant at school, in front of his grandpa, the bastard was wagging his tail and panting like a mutt. I pushed out my chair and stood. Hyuk, where are you going? At that, Yirin asked me where I was going. There's someone I have to admonish with some advice about life. I answered her and ran outside to where Chairman Hwang had gone. Something I absolutely wanted to tell him had suddenly occurred to me. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Chairman Hwang. I called loudly to Chairman Hwang, who had left the buffet and was standing in front of the elevator. You are? A friend of Sung-taek. He must have thought that I had followed him out in order to express my thanks, because Chairman Hwang Hyuk greeted me warmly. My name is Kang Hyuk. There's something I want to ask. A question? Huh. You are brave for a youngster. Though he said that the guards and attendants around Chairman Hwang had somehow increased to 20 or so people. All right, what is your question? Chairman Huang still hadn't dropped his facade. What is your dream, Chairman? Dream? Kang Hyuk was slightly confused by the sudden talk about dreams. Are you holding up the busy chairman with a joke? A man who looked to be the chief secretary came forward with a slight scowl on his face. I don't have anything so unnecessary as a dream. I'm simply fiercely living the life I was given. To not have a dream. I see. When I was young, my grandpa held me and told me something as if telling me a story. There is no one as happy as someone who dreams, and nothing as wretched and fearful as someone who doesn't have a dream. Thank you for your time. I will continue to think deeply on it. I sharply bowed and returned to the inside of the buffet hall. What is your name? I heard the chairman's stout voice behind me. Kang Hyuk. My name is Kang Hyuk. It is a name you will come to hear often in the future. The leader of conglomerate at the forefront of South Korea was someone without a dream. It was understandable if the people below him were that way, but a leader couldn't be like that. In an organization, the leader's dream was the dream of those beneath him. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Huang Sung take. I ate well thanks to you. Yeah? Looks like you've finally figured out your place. I came back in and relayed my thanks to Huang Sung take, who was holding a glass with a cocky posture. You brat, I thought you might be rich or something from the way you went around with your head raised high, and all despite being utterly penniless, but Kiki, keep your head down in the future. At Huang Sung take's words, the two domesticated hunting dogs by his side barked noisily. So that's why I'm giving you guys an invitation for tomorrow. Invitation? All you little kids. I simply ignored Sung take's question and called all the kids who were immersed in stuffing their faces with food. The rascals. I'll show them a proper paradise on earth. I couldn't lose to the likes of the insulting Osung group. Tomorrow, by 10 a.m., come with your passports to Departure Gate A in the Incheon International Airport. Passport? Pahaha. Why? Are we going to take our passports and go abroad, or something? Still failing to understand the situation, Huang Sung take laughed his head off. Teacher, you are free from tomorrow throughout the weekend, right? Well, I don't really have any plans, but it wasn't that she didn't have any plans. The spinster Ms. Wang actually didn't have anything to do. She didn't know that there was sauce splattered on her lips. Then please come. Each and every one of you kiddos should come too. If you don't, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. I would teach them what true wealth was. Huang Sung take, and you too. Be sure to come. Don't be cowards that reject my invitation. Cuckoo, what did you say? Oof. All right. I'll definitely come, you shithead. This was the baiting skill I had learned from Master. Without fail, the thoughtless carp head fell for the bait. Also, you don't have to bring much. Just bring some underwear to change into and the swimsuit that matches your figure the most. My exceedingly confident voice rang within the buffet hall. You rascals, this is just the beginning. And then I steadily made plans. I would show the youngsters the paradise I dreamt of. What's going on today? You didn't know? You remember the kid who got off on the A380 last time, right? Yeah, of course I remember. Even now, it seems like a dream when I think of it. Seriously. Geez, I heard that prime ministers from Europe and the leaders of several nations call the airport president, saying to give the kid maximum priority and protocol. The kid in question is departing on a flight today, and with 35 kids from his class at that. What did you say? The protocol team of the Incheon airport received immeasurable jealousy from every other department each month. Yet they were thrown into chaos again by a single call that came in late on Saturday night. They had gotten word that the plane would be formally departing through Tollgate 9, and though they would be serving not a high-ranking bureaucrat, but a mere kid, they were busy early in the morning. There was much to do in order to screen not just one or two, but 35 kids for departure. Omo, even the National Intelligence Service staff are here. While swiftly moving through their protocol routines, the protocol team had seen just about everything they could be surprised at. As top veterans, their work wasn't difficult for them, but I am the section chief of national security, Choi Byung-yeol. I ask that you make it so that the people who will depart today can leave after a basic departure screening. Wearing gray trench coats, the three NIS members gave a notice to the chief of the protocol team. Yes, I understand. Everyone besides the president had to undergo a departure examination. But the person related to national security was telling them to give the kids a basic departure screening, and they had to follow the orders of a national agency. That threw everyone into anxiety again. A single kid, who was neither the president nor a high-ranking VIP, was departing under the primary protection of the National Intelligence Service. Even as they moved, the protocol team members were busy racking their small brains to figure out who the kid really was. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Welcome, teacher. Hyuk ho ho. I came because you told me to, but why did you call us here today? It was Ms. Wang Sunio, our homeroom teacher, who was childish, a bit of an airhead, and acted perfectly frivolous on top of that. Though I hadn't said anything about it, she had appeared with the math teacher, Lee Ji-hei. I called you here in order to show you a small token of my sincerity towards you, who worked so hard to teach us, and to the kids whose field trip I ruined. Token of your sincerity? She had probably been curious about it all night. Hyuk, I came because Ms. Wang told me to, but where are we going today? The perfect specimen of an intellectual yet considerate teacher, Ms. Lee Ji-hei, asked about my intentions with part worry, part doubt in her eyes. You'll find out if you wait just a moment. You two teachers who would make a fairy cry due to your beauty. Ho ho ho. Our Hyuk sure has perceptive eyes. Not knowing she was getting high praise due to Ms. Lee Ji-hei, the spinster Ms. Wang Sunio was very happy. She didn't know that all kinds of tragedies were waiting for her all throughout this trip. That is, Hyuk. Hey Hyuk. While I was chatting a bit with the teachers, the kids gathered in twos and threes in front of the gate. Oh cutie, you got sense, huh? With a pair of sunglasses that didn't fall behind the trends atop her head, Seo Yirin appeared with her long black hair flowing to and fro. The revealing denim shorts she ventured to wear even in the chilly weather, as well as the white shirt she liked, made her shine amongst the second-rate women around her. MS. Lee Ji-hei is pretty good, but youth is good after all. You're in, a haughty lily, and Ms. Lee Ji-hei, a blooming cosmos whose looks rivaled Yirin's. With these two beauties by my side, my shoulders automatically straightened with pride. Hyuk, I'm here. Though I had lightly said we were going on a trip, Jung Hyun appeared while determinedly dragging a large suitcase. He must have picked up something from my words to pack a swimsuit, because he came with a straw hat pressed to his head. Yeah. Thanks for coming, my best friend. Jung Hyun, my good-natured best friend who truly believed in me. Kang Hyuk. Though Jung Hyun had a university president for a father, he never forgot his humility and performed his duty as a friend to the utmost. I didn't feel embarrassed at all to call him my friend. Kang Hyuk, I came because you told me to, but isn't this just going to be a waste of time? Surely you didn't call us here to get discounts with our passports at the airport cafeteria, right? As soon as he arrived, Hwang Sung-taek didn't even greet the teachers and started by picking a fight. Though I was sure I had told him to bring at least a swimsuit, he had come in his normal clothes without bringing anything, except for the mutts at his side, as always. Hwang Sung-taek, do the two teachers here look like cleaning ladies to you? I thought you were raised in a distinguished family, but aren't you just from a fractured, nameless family instead? What? You little shit. Ho, you brat. I've got you now. Today was the day. The day I would give these mongrels some education on morals. All right, it looks like everyone is here, so follow me. Hyuk, where are we going? Who is he to tell us to follow? They had all come because I had told them to, but they probably wanted a rest since it was their Saturday weekend, a time as precious as gold. But since Hwang Sung-taek, who dominated the class, was participating and even the teacher had said she was coming, they had also come. Actually, a few of them probably just came because they were curious about what I was doing. I'm seriously a noble here. Ms. Lee Ji-hei was walking by my side because she was a teacher, and Seo Yirin was walking by my side as if it was the obvious thing to do, while receiving the glances of the other kids. My heart raced and pumped like crazy at the alluring fragrance of the two most beautiful ladies. Like that, I walked towards not the regular departure area, but to the VIP room used by distinguished guests. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. EHHH. Is this the VIP room I've only heard of? Isn't it called the Pine Room? The VIP protocol room, which could only be used by former and current presidents, as well as high-ranking figures, including the three heads of departments. Having followed me in, the kids were busy crying out inside the vintage VIP room, also known as the Pine Room. Hyuk, what's going on? Asked Ms. Wang as she looked around in all directions. As soon as she had stepped in, the scenery inside the room had made her lose her nerve. Welcome. Please wait a moment. We will guide you to the gate right away. Wearing a formal ivory suit, the beautiful protocol team lady I'd met when I handed here bowed her head. The fellows in my classroom just stared at me, without even being able to think of sitting on the precious sofas. It was as if they were kindergartners who had come out on a picnic and were looking at their teacher for directions. Everyone sit down. The lady told us to wait a bit. Teachers, please sit. Oh, okay. As I flopped down onto my seat and asked them to sit, Ms. Wang, and Ms. Lee Ji-hye very carefully sat down on the pine-colored sofas. Wow, so soft. The sofas at my house are like hemp cloth in comparison. Ms. Wong, the chattermouth, spat out something without any dignity as she sat down. What will you drink for tea? We have wild ginseng tea, Korean honey tea, Lingji tea, 20-year-old pu'er tea, black tea, and Arabian instant coffee. We will also immediately prepare any drinks you require. The hospitably smiling protocol team ladies approached the kids, who were awkwardly incapable of even sitting down. Please give me black tea. Having carefully sat down on just the edge of the sofa by my side, Yirin was the first to speak. Ho-ho, even amongst all those blah-blah teas, isn't the wild ginseng tea the way to go? Ms. Lee, you're going to drink the wild ginseng tea too, right? And no, I want to drink a cup of the instant coffee. Unlike Ms. Wong, who practically advertised her old spinster ways in neon letters, Ms. Lee Ji-hye maintained her dignity. Whoever it was, the person who married her would be winning the jackpot. Rascal, are you finally getting a bit scared? From the moment we had gone into the airport protocol VIP room, Hwang Sung-taek had realized something was wrong and was making an expression like that of a puppy that needed to poo. He was speechlessly exchanging serious looks with his two cronies in the corner. Mr. Kang Hyuk, where are you? HM. While I was feeling happy because Hwang Sung-taek's distress was my happiness, I heard a low voice call my name. A sharp-looking man in his early 40s wearing a trench coat was looking for me. I am Kang Hyuk. I am the section chief of the NIS, Choi Byung-yeol. Huh? The NIS. What? Why the NIS? Even I didn't expect the NIS members, who strove to gather intelligence for the national interest and catch spies, to show up. If at any time there is any discomfort in your daily life, or something you need, please contact me at this number. Even though he wasn't some worker at a real estate agency, the section chief named Choi Byung-yeol passed me a business card with a courteous smile. Oh yeah, you got to meet a well-off master after all. I roughly understood. That master was at the center of everything. Haha, thank you for working day and night. I will give you a call next time. Section Chief Choi raised my value with his appearance. Though he had suddenly made me slightly worried about the nation's security, today was really my day. The departure screening has been completed. You may now board. A lady of the protocol team appeared with the passports they had collected from us in a tidy wooden basket. Then shall we depart? After talking big to the kids last night, I had come back home and asked for Big Sis Marisol's help. I asked for a place where we could swim regardless of the season because I was going to go play with the kids in my class. It was the beginning of a fateful day. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. T, this is a plane? It's wider than the living room in my house. Welcome. We hope you have an enjoyable trip. Who are these goddesses? The moment we boarded the private A380 plane, 10 or so beauties from various nations greeted us at the entrance, including Big Sis Marisol. Beautiful crew ladies from Europe, Japan, and Korea courteously greeted the kids. Mr. Hyuk, it has been a while. Haha, Big Sis Marisol, you have become more beautiful in the time I hadn't seen you. Oh, Hyuk, you have also become manlier in a few months' time, to the point of being desirable. Hashit, I'm desirable. Having seriously answered something I said jokingly, Big Sis Marisol's bewitching blue eyes sparkled. All the kids were shocked by the French that skillfully flowed from my mouth and were staring at me. The preparations? You can look forward to it, Hyuk. Why does my tongue roll like this? The French language was already as smooth as oil in a fry pan, but when I rolled my tongue even more, it felt like butter and oil had combined and I was dancing the blues. Cuckoo, a private plane has got to be at this level, at the very least. Even in my eyes, the A380 boasted enormous space. The kids who had been shouting and cheering had shut their mouths at some point and quietly followed me in. And from that moment on, I was king. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Whoa, the plane doesn't even shake. So you're saying this is the A380 I've only heard of, right? Brats, so uncouth. Even though Daehan High School was sponsored by the Daehan Group, at the time of the Europe field trip, we had been assigned to the economy class. After having to sit on a plane without rest for several tens of hours, the kids had nightmares about planes. But this two-floor Airbus enormous size swallowed dozens of kids without any sign that we were here. You rascal, I see you've completely lowered your tail. Cuckoo. Even in their awe, the kids who met eyes with me looked at me with respect in their shining eyes. But even amongst that respect, Hwang Sung-taek was crouched in the corner with a big scowl on his face. He might be the grandson of the Osung Group's chairman, but even he couldn't use such a huge plane as his personal ride. How is it? It's worth seeing, right? The wicked feelings were steadily growing in the corner. Unable to resist the temptation, I approached Huang Sung-taek and his cronies and pretended to be friendly. Huang Sung-taek ground his teeth in response. Would you just look at this bastard? He must have not lost his nerve yet with this, because Huang Sung-taek ground his teeth as animosity welled in his eyes. Hey, you faithful dogs. If you're hungry, go ask those ladies for something to eat. It's going to be hard taking care of your bad-tempered master for the entire day. I'm way too kind. Even in my thinking, I was impossibly considerate. Whoever it was, the woman who lived with me would surely send a barrage of thank yous to the god above. Kang Hyuk, you bastard. Huang Sung-taek spat out my name syllable by syllable. Look forward to it. I'll show you what true wealth is. Someone who had been raised through money had to return to his senses by getting beaten down by money. My insightful actions were meant to teach a lesson to this pitiful guy who had a promising future ahead of him. The sky was surely sending down blessings for the sake of a guy like me. La 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 la. I began involuntarily humming. Inside this spacious airplane, the kids who had been invited to my paradise were yelling happily. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Ruan, Sherry, T/N. Hyuk is speaking in a different language with one of the crew members here. Not sure what language it is, though. Ha ha ha. What in the world is Hyuk's real identity? Drinking fresh, sweet kiwi juice? Yirin fell into contemplation. Sitting on a VIP seat that seemed to have been made for him, Kang Hyuk was communicating with the passing crew members in various languages. He didn't seem like the Hyuk she had known so far. He was proficient in not only Taekwondo, but also Kumdo, and had remarkable skill in the piano and in music enough to be able to play jazz. This time, he was surprising Yirin with his skill in languages. At the very least, he knows 5 languages. And it's perfect with native accents, too. Hyuk's language ability was so outstanding that he could give and receive jokes with the crew members. Seeing that, Yirin fell deep into the pit that was suspicion. And what's with this airplane? From what I heard, it's a next-generation airliner made by the European company Airbus. But why is Hyuk using it like his personal plane? There were more than just 1 or 2 suspicious things. Because she had done her share of going on trips abroad from an early age, she knew what an airport's protocol team did, and she was also well aware of how much a huge plane like this cost. Kang Hyuk, who are you really? That was the question in Yirin's heart. But Hyuk did not answer. He only drank happily as he conversed, enjoying this time. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Whoa, is this really the human world? After a non-stop flight from Incheon to the Ibrahim International Airport, we transferred onto a 50-man airplane and arrived at a 6-star pool resort called Nakanalu on Donakoli Island. The multitude of picturesque rooms of the resort on the small island, as well as the pearly beach beneath our feet, made us wonder if this was heaven. Thank you, Big Sis Marisol. Ho ho. For some reason, Big Sis Marisol had followed us all the way here. Hyuk, I'm in total bliss. Not just the kids, but Ms. Wang Sunayo was also moved and was tightly grasping her hands. Sob sob, the honeymoon vacation destination of my dreams is exactly a place like this. Ocean, here I come. Crying and stretching out her arms, Ms. Wang ran into the ocean, which incidentally had a coral reef. Lady Marisol. Mr. Hyuk, did you call? Gulp. Wearing a miniskirt and a sleeveless shirt that clearly revealed the cleavage of her big boobs, the slim, 5'7" tall Marisol smiled brightly as she answered me. She's bomb. Just bomb. Nothing more needed to be said. As a lady of France, a nation that preferred curves over girls with straight lines, she had a voluptuous body. If the sight of her didn't make you drool, then you were either just a friend or gay. Is this also? Oh, that's right. This is one of the group's investments. Besides this place, the company connected to the group is investing in every tourist destination in the world, like Fiji, Bali, Hawaii, and Australia. Impressive. There was nothing more to say. It was likely that even Master Bumdaff didn't know how much of his wealth was rolling around in the world. We welcome you. Dying suddenly, with the sound of a cheerful music, dozens of hotel staff members appeared holding bouquets. They then enthusiastically greeted the kids and me. Then shall we have some fun? I acted dignified in front of the kids, but how could I have experienced something so surreal before? But I had to be dignified, because the lovable kids were standing in a line behind my back, believing in me, their ignorant general. Chapter 7. Eat Fuck. Kaya. The clear, Pure and clean cobalt waters of the Mediterranean flowed below the resort. Having changed into cool flower print shorts, I was now drinking fresh tropical fruit juice while sitting on a beach chair in the shade. It had been briefly noisy because of Ms. Wong losing her senses upon seeing the ocean, but we'd soon all taken up rooms in the resort with people we liked. After a Mediterranean lunch, which was comprised of all sorts of seafood, we were enjoying a relaxing afternoon. A place like this is a scenic paradise. There's nothing more I could want. This was the ideal relaxation that I had dreamed of. A youthful adolescence enjoyed with the ever-so-blue sea and the world's most beautiful women at my side in hot, but not sticky weather. Even though he was rotting in money, I wasn't jealous at all of my master, who locked himself up in the underground magic tower and guffawed while watching TV. So what if he was an 8th-circle mage? I wasn't jealous at all. After all, he had been so crazy about magic that he never got to ride the stormy period of adolescence, a truly important time in life. Ho ho ho. Ha ha. Stop that. Ho. Everyone went to the swimming pool, I see. As was seemly for a 6-star hotel, in terms of facilities, it didn't fall behind any first-class hotel. With a spa, sauna, swimming pool, buffet, restaurant, bar, yoga studio, fitness gym, library, and etc., there was nothing it didn't have. Moreover, we could use all the facilities as much as we wanted. Matching their lively youth, the kids had eaten lunch, changed into their swimsuits without a hitch, and had gathered in the swimming pool. Shall I go too? For some reason, Marisol had prepared a suite room for my private use. Yiren is probably there too, and Ms. Lee as well. Hoo hoo hoo. The artful bodies of the two women made my chest burn at the mere thought of them. With bated breath, I headed to the outdoors swimming pool. Hyuk, gah. The slightly nasally voice of a woman called me as I walked towards the swimming pool. Hot damn, is that really the body of a human being? A sensuous body with a Venus-level, slender S-line, which didn't even know the meaning of flat. Her large boobs of absolute fertility would make even milk cows cry and hail them as your highnesses. The important parts were just barely hidden by 2 white strings, and painted in white jade skin was her slim, pencil-thin waist, so small that it was regrettable. Under there were her sexy legs, as stretched out as the highway. Tied together with string was her swimsuit, which could certainly be called panties. Big sis Marisol, why do you want to make this young one fall in a cardiac arrest? Having appeared like the reincarnation of a perfect beauty, Marisol would make even an ascetic who had undergone meditation training for 30 years and was about to reach nirvana, asked to drink a glass of rice liquor with her. The peculiar smile on her lips was pouring oil all over my blazing heart. Aha, Marisol. My eyes moved wildly as I smiled awkwardly. Hyuk, do you have time in the evening today? Huh, tea the evening? Big sis, why do you ask? Cool, of course I got plenty of time. Maybe. I have to make a campfire with the kids, and also, contrary to my thoughts, the sounds that came out of me were half rejection. I had no confidence that I'd be able to take it if Marisol were to come out like this at night. 2. I was still just a rugged panther that had only grown enough to move out of his parents' house. Ho ho, I will wait for you. Even if I have to stay up all night, after saying some strangely suggestive words, Marisol threw a wink at me. My heart's gonna burst. Seriously, even without this, her looks that resembled Sophie Marceau made my heart go thumping every time I saw her. But Marisol had explicitly invited me. How could a butt be so attractive? I watched Marisol's back as she walked towards the ocean after leaving me a wink. Every time her explosively sexy tush twitched, the flesh on my cheeks also twitched. Until the East Sea's waters run dry and empty bake dew is worn away. I began singing the national anthem. Just about every man knew that singing the national anthem was the best thing for cooling a blazing heart. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Ho ho, refreshing. I'm so happy. I'm so happy I could die. The gently blowing Mediterranean wind tickled the long palm leaves as it whispered past, and the fairies under the trees were immersed in playing in the water, unaware that a woodcutter was visiting. T/N refers to a famous Korean folktale. A woodcutter manages to take a fairy as his wife by hiding her winged clothing while she is bathing. For the full story, look it up. For hygiene to have a body like that. Oh, Jui's body gives off such luster. Honestly, besides Yurin and Ms. Lee Ji-hye, I hadn't expected much from the other girls in our class. But a few of the ladies splashing like freshly caught mermaids were more than enough to make me happy. As expected, and upon discovering 2 women who didn't disappoint my expectations, I nodded. I didn't know when the two of them had become friends, but they were chummily lying on beach chairs and enjoying a suntan. They were just 10 meters away from me. Even without magic eye, which would let me see far distances, I was perfectly able to record everything about the two girls in my mind. D-damn. That was what the young man Morco spluttered every time he saw his fake wife, Song Dambai, in the show. We got married yesterday. T/N. The actual show is called We Got Married. It pairs up celebrities in make-believe marriages. One of the pairs was a model named Marco and a singer/actress named Sun Dambai. The exclamation was really, vibrantly satisfying to say. It was the ultimate exclamation for a woman who brought infinite delight to your eyes and even set your spirit ablaze. Though they fell short of Marisol, there was only one word that was sufficient to express the silhouettes of the incredibly smooth bodies of the two ladies who were lying down with their knees slightly bent. Damn was the only word that cut it. If Marisol's figure was the Angelina Jolie-style Westerner's figure, then even though the two girls fell slightly short, they were still well-proportioned beauties who would definitely show anyone looking that this was the beauty of the East. I made an outstanding choice. My goal had been to have a vacation that completely blew away the fatigue in my body and mind. It was an unexpected, spontaneous vacation that was meant to crush Huang's Sung-take. But as far as choices went, it was totally awesome. The saying, catch the pheasant, pick the egg, and kill two birds with one stone existed for a situation like this. Hyuk, what's up? I heard a friendly voice from behind my back. With a feeling of foreboding, I turned my head slightly. Art, holy shit. Oh Lord, maybe this is how it would feel to be on an incredibly refreshing walk on the beach with the woman you loved, and then have a small bird poop right into your eyes. It was so disconcerting that I didn't know where to put my eyes. What's wrong? Is there something on my face? Ms. Wong was startled by my scream, which was unusual coming from me. She must have played for a long time on the beach, because her caked-on makeup had been completely washed away, revealing her naked face. God, dear Lord, why did you send me this kind of trial? It was as if I was experiencing a terrible freeze magic, which not only cooled my feelings 100-fold more effectively than singing the national anthem, but also froze them. The beautiful memories I had made while looking at Marisol, Yirin, and Ms. Li Jihei were attacked and reformatted by a virus. Her poorly proportioned body wasn't even a 6 head-to-body ratio, but a 5 head-to-body ratio. T/N. Head-to-body ratio is how long your body is compared to your head. The Korean ideal is a body that is 10 times longer than the head, which equals a small head and very long legs. So basically, Ms. Wong has a big head and a squat body. I hadn't expected her to have long hair. However, she must have harvested some kelp from the beach, because a string of seaweed was stuck in her muddy, curly hair. The horror of the naked face below was, at least in school, it wasn't this bad. She had some mercy, because she went around with her face caked in makeup, which made it bearable to see. But, even if it was a slight exaggeration, the face that was revealed under the scorching Mediterranean sun made me want to take out my eyes and wash them in clean water. Where did her eyebrows go? And what is that field of blackheads supposed to be? I thought the story about the man who saw his wife after she came out of the shower during their honeymoon and yelled, "Where's my wife?" was just a legend, but that was how much of a shock Ms. Wong, Sun Nio's face was to me. It was truly a face I hadn't ever imagined until now. It was enough to make my illusions about women immigrate all the way to Africa. Dear Lord, why do you grant me both joy and misery at the same time? She hadn't even had a baby, but an ET-level potbelly could be freely seen above her swimsuit. At the sight of such a teacher putting on the air of an alluring woman in front of me, I clenched my eyes shut. If I looked at her any longer, I would receive such mental damage that I wouldn't be able to go to school anymore. Hyuk, what's wrong? Are you hurt somewhere? Graph. After closing my eyes without responding, I felt a black, evil stretching towards my forehead. I can't let that happen. The purity I've guarded up till now will be. The warmth that was quickly approaching my face shocked me back to my senses. It sure is hot. Ruin. In the moment of crisis when my teacher's hand was about to meet my flesh, I whirled around right then and there and flung myself into the swimming pool. All throughout, I was doing my best to erase the magic formula that made you shit blood, a spell that frequently popped into my head. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. What's going on? After returning his disciple to his native country and losing someone to nag it every day as a result, Archmage Adel watched the idiot box broadcasts of various nations to kill time. For the first time in a while, he went down to the basement to check the magic circle and stammered his surprise. The mana is exploding. It's exploding. Though he thought it would stay stable for a year at the very least, providing time for his outstanding disciple to get used to magic, the mana of the dimensional travel circle was rampaging. Because it was an enormous amount of mana that he had done his best to concentrate, produce, and gather for the sake of dimensional travel. If it exploded, not only the magic tower, but hundreds of kilometers of the surrounding area would certainly become a sea of flames. Hyuk, I'm sorry. Though you were supposed to have fun for a while. Sob sob. Never forget the feelings of love this master of yours has for you. All of Hyuk's card activity, as well as his everyday life, was thoroughly reported to the Mage Adel. Adel had been awed by his disciple's remarkable adaptability. Hyuk happily took the gifts and used them as if they were his. In any case, the money Adel had earned on the earth was so deeply invested that even if Hyuk were to use hundreds of thousands a day, it still wouldn't run dry. Even so, Adel was amazed by the sight of such a young guy spending hundreds, thousands, and now millions for the sake of bragging to his classmates. If he had been curious about how his so-called master was faring, he could have asked the female staff member Adel had dispatched from the group, but his disciple seemed to have completely erased his master from his mind. And without knowing what kind of price tag was on the pleasures he was enjoying, his disciple was now savoring bliss. La 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 la, why am I so happy, huh? Every time he saw his disciple, who was living a life without regrets, a life Adel had been unable to enjoy in his youth, Adel's stomach had burned. And every time the mana in the magic circle writhed, Adel experienced the refreshing joy of a 100-year-old indigestion going away. Young life, the young life of youth. When you're old, you can't have it. While humming a song he'd heard on a trip in Korea many years ago, a song that had strangely reminded him of his regretful youth, Adel hurriedly moved his hands, all while rejoicing at the future of his one and only disciple, one who didn't understand his master's kindness. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. You cannot go to Donakuli Island. There's already a guest who reserved that place. Ryvan stopped breathing as a muzzle was pressed into his chest. He was the hydroplane pilot who escorted guests to the Maldives resort, Nakanalu Resort on Donakuli Island. If you don't want to hear the sound of a hole getting ripped into your heart, depart. Don't make me say it twice. You understood. 3 people from the east had suddenly sought him out and abruptly demanded that he take them to Nakanalu Resort. The smell of blood that radiated from their bodies told Ryvan that these weren't ordinary people. In particular, he could feel an unspeakably cold aura from one with the big, burn-like scars on his forehead. Hyuk, it's so beautiful. Wasn't there a saying that you should speak of the Mediterranean sunset if you haven't seen it before? As if even the blue coral was sleeping, the emerald sea soaked up the magic dust of time and was turned into red rubies under the sun's rays. Surrounded by such a red sunset and the ocean view, I walked down the beach with an angel, enjoying Yirin's warm hand, which had casually grabbed mine tightly. Yirin, you're so beautiful, you steal my breath away. Having dashed into the swimming pool thanks to Ms. Wang Sunayo, I dragged Yirin and Ms. Lee from their relaxation to have fun together. Using the water play as an excuse, my hands were able to freely appreciate the feel of Yirin's and Ms. Lee's silky skin. And now it was evening. The kids who'd played in the water for several hours went to rest in their rooms, and Yirin agreed to my request to walk together on the beach with a smile, following me out. This is like a dream. It makes me think that the honeymoon I've wanted since I was a teenager must feel like this. Honeymoon. As soon as I heard the word honeymoon, my heart raced wildly, like a crazy runaway horse. What did you think of when it came to honeymoons? The first night, short yet long, together with the one you loved. An evening spent at a beautiful resort, drinking wine as red as passionate blood, as you looked at each other with sweet gazes. And then came the fated time. Apparently people these days skipped all that and started the money talks instead, but how could you ruin the one and only honeymoon in your life with something so stupid? Hyuk, I'm more happy because you're by my side. Yirin, this is what it was like to be blurred by tears. Right now, and right here, I was getting confessed to by a kind angel who had beautiful looks that had nothing to fear in the world. Now there was no one to be jealous of. Gulp. Our feet had stopped moving at some point. Our feet half submerged in the water, with the shimmering sunset backdrop around us. Yirin and I stared into each other's eyes. Yirin. Yeah. Even if I'd never been taught it, How could I not know? I gathered her two hands, which had been holding mine, and slowly pulled them to my chest. I wanted to see you. With me suddenly saying I'd wanted to see her, Yirin's large, black pearl-like eyes blinked. Did you know? That you're a person I'd want to see even when I'm looking at her. It was a slick combination of words that mixed cooking oil, butter, and even sesame oil, which even I could only be surprised by. In that moment, the sun's light splashed onto Yirin's lips, slowly painting them apple red. Yirin, I quietly called my angel's name, my breath gradually growing rough. Our faces slowly drew closer like magnetism. Or rather, it was as if I were the blood-craving Count Dracula. Yirin's red lips somehow attracted mine to hers. Mommy, the first kiss I'd only imagined for 17 years. True to the saying that the first kiss would cut deeply into your memory, this fateful time was something I'd remember with delight, even when lying in the grave. Somehow, unbelievably, Yirin's eyes had closed. Her eyelashes were trembling. Her wordless consent, my heart, which had gotten faster not long ago, was now beating wildly against my ribcage, as if it were pummeling it with a laundry bat. Just a little closer, a little closer. The rough breathing of a soldier who had to capture an enemy's mountain fortress came puffing out of my mouth. And then Yirin's full cherry lips were only a few centimeters away. Now it would be game over if I just clenched my eyes shut and pushed my lips onto hers. Teach this is, in that moment, while I was flushing with joy, I felt a shudder run through my entire body. Why in a moment like this? Suddenly plunged into a difficult situation, like having to choose between saving either your mom or your girlfriend, my body quivered violently. The meal was all set. It would be over if I pressed forward by just a finger's width, but an enlightenment had happened to strike me now. I hadn't even cast all the third circle magic yet, but the sudden surge of joy and expectation brought with it an enlightenment. From what I'd heard from Master, for mages, overcoming the limit of the circle was exactly half as difficult as conquering MT Everest with your bare body, but it didn't seem like such a wall existed for me. Something squirmed in my heart. It was the circle trying to elevate itself to a new limit. But I had to make a decision. There was no knowing when an enlightenment would come. I could plunge myself into the world of mana by following the enlightenment, or unsparingly light this time on fire with Yirin. Such mercilessness. Because it wasn't a short moment, Yirin was also feeling that something was wrong. The temperature I could feel from Yirin's hand was running cold. And then, whatever. I made my decision and pressed my lips onto Yirin's. Chew. Our lips met with a clear and bright sound. Why, Yirin, sorry. With a word of apology, I left Yirin, who was startled by the feeling on her lips, and without even looking back, I ran to a place with no one else around. Dump. I ran without looking behind me. Ag, the fate of a cursed mage. I made my choice. Rather than the royal road that would have stretched forth with Yirin, I chose the enlightenment as a mage. Wah! Tears blur my path. But I did not stop, because no matter how untimely, a young mischievous imp had gifted me with the opportunity for enlightenment. Asterisk. Zing. Gay. In order to not miss the enlightenment that had come, I entered a forest shrouded in darkness. This was the moment I would rise to not the third circle, but the fourth circle. By the law of mana drainage, the moment the fourth circle was formed, there would be a powerful outward surge. I sat cross-legged in the quiet forest, and when I drew in mana by breathing through the channeling method Master had told me, the circle thrashed within my heart. It was such an intense feeling that it couldn't even be compared to when the third circle had formed. Moreover, the mana positioned in the upper and lower dungeons moved in conjunction, so the feeling of a new circle being formed drew closer with a heart-crushing shock. God, I have to overcome it. I'd heard of people whose mana had scattered from the unfamiliar pain during circle formation, turning them into cripples. I clenched my teeth and circulated my mana according to the channeling method. Then, all of a sudden, as if space itself was expanding, the circle in my heart rapidly enlarged. Like a snake shedding its skin and emerging into a bigger body, the third circle that I hadn't even gotten totally used to yet extended into my entire body. Zing. But then suddenly, instead of condensing back into my heart, it started forming a band in my waist area. What the hell? If Master were here, I'd at least be able to ask him as much as I wanted, but I was shocked by this unseen, unheard of phenomenon. That's right. Master said I was the first to train using this mana channeling method, right? He had combined the internal chi channeling that he'd received from the ascetic monk with his own mana channeling method, creating a new mana channeling method. Even Master wouldn't know what was going on. Is this going to be okay? Ease and doubt settled after the pain. I was astonished by the feeling of 4 distinct circles encircling my waist area like the rings of Saturn instead of being near my heart. Have I really become a 4th circle mage? I was seriously doubtful. What if I died tragically in the middle of casting magic because of this circle, which just had to position itself weirdly? Then I'll lightly try 1st circle magic first. This was a world in which even bridges could fall while you were driving over them. Feeling as if I were pounding a cement bridge, I thought of the 1st circle magic that could be cast without an activation incantation. Light. Shwa. Oh, nice. This is exactly it. With my dainty incantation, light magic as bright as a searchlight lit up the forest. I could feel less mana was being drained in when I cast it with the 3rd circle, and the mana itself was stable. Then, while I was at it, I wanted to see for myself. My power as a 4th circle mage who'd been able to get a generous bonus on top of the norm. Fireball. I experienced the spectacle of the magic formula and while getting drawn out in my head, and the mana inside my circle combining with the mana of the earth. Fwoosh. Ugh. A red magic ball of flame the size of a bicycle will floated up into space about 5 meters away from me. Even though I hadn't even invested all the mana I had, it was the biggest fireball I had created so far. Hoo-hoo. Now I'll have nothing to fear from not just boars, but even boar patriarchs. Ooh-ha-ha-ha. As a mage, this was exactly the kind of enjoyment you earn from an enlightenment. Although it was joy only I knew about right now, I was still happy. Going from a mere loser who'd known nothing just a few months ago to a 4th circle mage gave me a sense of accomplishment. It was such an immense pleasure that I wouldn't change a thing. Has Yiren left yet? I suddenly thought of Yiren's red lips. After rising to the 4th circle, my regret only grew. That's right, this isn't my only chance. Yiren might stay by my side forever, but a missed enlightenment won't come again. It was said that a man who didn't persevere didn't have a right to peace standing up. Even in my surging regret, I somehow found consolation. Then next is who? From 4th circle magic onwards, you could use an assortment of attack and defense spells, as well as various kinds of magic for everyday use. Though I hadn't attempted them yet, Master must have done something funny to me. The 4th circle magic formulas were fighting amongst each other in my mind, clamoring to be the first to be brought out into the world. Sleeping magic, and even binding magic on top of that. Suddenly, magic-aided imaginations about unhealthy relationships flooded my mind. No, only bad guys think about such shameful methods. I shook my head as I dispelled those unmanly uses for magic. But it's weird. Why is it that when I think about a woman, an actual magic combo of sleeping, binding, and silence comes to mind? Despite never having used those spells before, this unfamiliar magic combo, no, even these magic formulas I had never even imagined before came one right after another whenever I thought about women. It was as if someone had seeded it into my memories. I'm not that pervert Master Bumdaff. The face of my master, who'd lived 200 years without being able to cast away his dream of rejuvenation, floated into my mind along with the work, spells. Arg, I should sprinkle a fistful of salt at least. I had forgiven Master because of money, but even so, the mere thought of him sent a chill up my spine. It even gave me the delusion that even now, he was watching me somewhere. When I get back, I'll call a skilled shaman and have them perform an exorcism. I get goosebumps every time I think about him. Within that Gandalf-like, good-natured face, Master Bumdaff was hiding his mega-pervy, crazy gangster nature. Just thinking about it gave me chills. Oh, it's already night, huh? Dispelling my thoughts of Master, the landscape around me came into my view. At some point, the sun had disappeared and a full moon the size of a plump rice cake had drifted into the sky. Marisol, is she really waiting for me? I suddenly thought of one scene I'd seen during the day. With a body blessed by God, where the curves went in at all the right places and out ever so generously, Marisol's passionate gaze came to my mind. Why am I so happy? Young life, the young life of youth. When you're old, you'll just be like Master. I involuntarily began humming. Flight magic. That's right, I'll try flying once. The rule of studying was that reviewing was just as important as preparation. Deciding to try casting the fourth circle magic flight, I activated my circle. Mana and will were the foundation of circle magic. The magic formula, which included math and the laws of physics, was also a necessary existence for a magic circle and various kinds of experiments. La 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 la. The rules of magic manifestation had come to mind with a single thought. It was weird that the circle had formed around my waist area, but because I had confirmed there was nothing wrong, I was able to concentrate with a feeling of contentment. What's this? I activated my mana, and when I was just about to connect the activation incantation to fuse the Earth's mana with my mana, I suddenly felt a strange energy from beyond the forest. Be bloodthirst. I sensed an aura that was similar to what the boar had radiated when it was running to catch me. It was an aura that made a strange tension scintillate through me. It was as if needles were pricking my skin. 2 people, no 3. Why me? In the past, I would have just absently dismissed it, but the somehow ominous and viscous feeling made my body tense up. I suddenly recalled Master's words that there would be many changes when I came to Harbor Mana. Huang Sungtaek and his cronies? No, that's not it. This isn't an aura released by puppies. They hadn't been worth my fist even before I learned magic, so there was no way they could emit such a sharp energy. I became more tense as I slowly calmed myself. When I had been learning Taekwondo, the person who had taught me, Instructor Jung, had been #1 in the practical Taekwondo world in South Korea. Because I had studied rigorously under such a person, I didn't lose my mental composure even while tensed up. They're about 10 meters away. They're definitely coming. I didn't know how they'd known that I would be in a place like this. The people radiating bloodthirst were approaching me with certainty. I'll probably need magic. If I could feel their bloodthirst from this far away, then they definitely had some kind of amazing skill. It could get dangerous if I were to get into a fight with such people. Lightning would be good. So this is why he said that a mage must keep their greatest attack and defense magic memorized. Master had often muttered advice to me, as if in passing. At the time, I thought it wasn't that important, but thinking about it, it was all absolutely necessary counsel for a mage. Even as a fourth circle genius, who could conjure magic formulas with a single thought, I couldn't compare to the experience of a mage that had trained to death every day. It was like the difference between a child who had just learned to hold a spoon and an adult who'd used a spoon to eat daily. What a shame. With a little more time, I would have been able to memorize fourth circle magic. I could cast third circle magic to some extent just by preparing myself mentally and imprinting the image in my mind, but I had only just risen to the fourth circle. Also, because I had never cast fourth circle magic before, I was even more regretful about the approaching danger. And, with a rustle, they appeared. They were 3 men wearing comfortable-looking black attire. As I had expected, they were definitely people who made a living by fighting. So you're the crazy old man's new disciple. Kukuku, a Chinese man? Does he know me? A man with a hideous scar that looked as if he had bonded chewed gum to his forehead with super glue chattered with a Cantonese dialect. And who are you? I skillfully responded with an authentic Mandarin accent. Oh, so you can speak Chinese? As expected, you're worth being the old man's disciple. Kukuku, the old man's disciple? Does that mean he knows Master Bumdaff? Master Bumdaff had boasted that no one in the world knew about his existence. Having lived to 200 years, there was definitely some dementia in him. After all, there was a Chinese gangster who didn't look so good precisely pinpointing me and calling me the old man's disciple. Well, this is shitty. Within the Chinese gangster's blazing eyes, I felt that there was a past that hadn't been resolved with that bad-tempered old man. Who's the old man? I asked, pretending not to know. Cuckoo. So that old man Adel didn't tell you that there's a senior who came before you. A senior? Then, if he knew Master's name and could call himself my senior, then there was only one thing he could be. He's a mage. Though it had endured the tension well, my heart thumped vigorously. This Chinese gangster was the first mage I had met, besides Master. Considering that he looked like he had a nasty personality, he was Master Adel's type. Geez, life is just not helping me out here. Just a single glance told me these people were definitely born fighters and had come looking for me with a grudge against Master. Moreover, one of them was a senior who knew magic. I was dying to call him Master Bumdaff and chew him out. Senior, why did you come looking for me in a place like this? I would have met you halfway if you had at least called to let me know you were coming. Ha ha ha. Hoping that maybe he wasn't hostile, I lightly threw out a joke. Go ahead and act cute, kiddo. If you disappoint me, I'll turn you into shark bait. Hoo-ho. But the returning response was as I expected. He does seem like a dreary bowl of Chinese black bean noodles that doesn't even have the pickled radish. This dude, death is the default, and the other option is mummification. You rotten bastard. T/N. Black bean noodles are a Chinese dish, very commonly eaten in Korea. It is always enjoyed with pickled radish. Resolved to kill me, the bastard's murderous intent chilled all of a sudden and was carried on the night wind to me. Kill him, as you wish. At his words to kill me, the two disciplined, rabid dogs stiffly bowed their heads. Shit, isn't that a knife? All of a sudden, looking like it belonged in a sushi kitchen, a 50 centimeters long sashimi knife glinted savagely in the moonlight. These bastards, that's so damn unfair. The made-in-China gangsters were clenching their teeth and wearing faint smiles. A sincere cry burst out from deep within my heart. I have really bad blood with made-in-China products. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. They were only together for a few months, but what's with this mana's energy? While entering the resort in search of the kid, Chong Li had suddenly felt a powerful mana's energy and had run into the forest. According to the info, the kid in front of his eyes, Kang Hyuk, had only been with that crazy mage for exactly 3 months and 10 days. But the mana the brat possessed was enough to make even Chong Li tense. He must have found a new method since then. Cuckoo. But what to do? Your new disciple is going to become fish food today. For over 20 years, Chong Li had been unable to forget. Even now, just thinking about when he had begged for his life by smashing his head into the ground until it gushed red, made his blood boil. A mage isn't made in a single morning. Ho-ho. Chong Li's right and left hands were among the slaughterers of the triad. While licking the finely honed blades with their tongues, the two men approached the kid. They went forward to slice a hole into the stomach of the mage's new disciple. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Kiki. Like former executioners, the two coyotes approached with knives in their hands. Swish. They suddenly drew near while flicking their knives, threateningly. This isn't a joke. Sleaze. They had honed the knives so finely that a simple flick of the pale blue blade seemed to cut the air. I would assume a defensive posture if I at least had a sword, but the only things I had right now were flower print shorts and a matching short-sleeve shirt. Bastards, I'll teach you just what kind of an existence a mage is. But I possessed the secrets of magic, which were unknown to the world. Sheeing. Here it comes. It seemed that joint attacks were their speciality. With bloody smiles, the bastards ran at me like the wind. Oh, you blockheads. I had already mentally prepared the magic. Light. I let loose a powerful blast of the easy first circle light magic. Gay. Night had fallen. The moon was up, but at the powerful light magic that was like the combination of hundreds of incandescent light bulbs, the two guys clenched their eyes shut, instinctively blocking the light with hands over their eyes. Pow! Ha-bam! I landed my taekwondo specialties, the back kick and a roundhouse kick consecutively on one guy's chin and the other's stomach. Ack! Cough! Both of them taking a single blow each from the unexpected attack. They shouted as they crumpled just like that onto the floor. And mana even strengthens my legs. Knees. Even I was surprised. Each blow I unleashed after concentrating hit the mark perfectly. My legs were much faster than before. On top of that, I felt the blows hit squarely and heavily. I could vividly feel that the circle mana I'd activated in order to cast magic had migrated to the bottom of my feet. Ho-ho. Then if I hold a sword, will there be a sword aura or something? On the Kalian continent where Master had lived, the knights there used aura blade. I felt that I would also be able to use it if I held a katana. Clap, clap, clap. Haha, impressive. These guys are supposed to be at the forefront of the triad, but you subdued them in just one move. And with something like first circle magic at that. Ha ha ha. The one who called himself my senior clapped as he looked at the underlings who had collapsed onto the ground. I couldn't let my guard down. There's something about him, I thought warily. Even knowing how scary magic was, this guy was not fearful. Looks like I'll get some exercise for the first time in a while. Crack. The guy tightly clenched his hands, which were in leather gloves. Mana? As expected. As he cracked his hands, I felt the energy of mana. I learned magic from the old man and rummaged through the continent for a long time. Ho-ho. In order to supplement the incomplete mana channeling method, I searched through ancient martial arts tomes like crazy. And I found it. Ho-ho. I found a divine technique that can rival the old man's mana channeling method. What? A divine technique? Though it sounded like a joke, it was definitely possible. Master Bumdaff had also gained the meditation method from an ascetic while traveling the continent. After all, I only know up to third circle magic, but I'm a fourth circle mage. Ho-ho. I realized that magic formulas and enlightenments were separate after overcoming the limit of the circle. Kuaha. How could something like this happen? It's like getting drenched while walking down the road. I'd thought of myself as the sole user of mana in this world, besides Master Bumdaff. But an oddball had appeared, and he was a criminal who, at the very least, had sent a few people to the underworld. Act cute, won't you? If you want to keep your bones intact, at least. Cuckoo. Though he hadn't even raised a knife, I felt an even sharper energy from him than before. Wait up, is the triad that triad? The Yakuza of Japan, the Mafia of Italy, and the Triad of Eastern Asia, which included Hong Kong and Taiwan. The names of the world's 3 henchman gangster groups came to my mind long after he'd mentioned one of them. Oh God, what the hell did that old man do? Master Bumdaff had managed to make the Triad, not just South Korean mobsters that sold pots or whatever the hell they did, but the Triad that was internationally known as knife specialists, into his enemy. Please wait. I stretched out my hand to stop the man who was approaching as if he were slowly strangling my throat. He stopped walking forward, but didn't say anything. I will give you the fourth circle formulas. At my mention of fourth circle magic, a glimmer of surprise passed through his expression. Ho-ho, that's right. If you're a mage too, then there's no reason for you to refuse this offer. In fact, I can even tell you the rough location of where that crazy mage is living on top of that. I wanted to see it once. An intense war between the Triad and an Archmage. Coo. He's laughing, but what I heard instead of a reply was simply the sound of the guy's laughter. You foolish brat. Did you think that the likes of the Triad could kill that old man? This guy belittled the Triad, even though they were so-called global gangsters. The shame and rage that surged from his eyes gave me the feeling that something I didn't expect would happen. That old man fought Europe's mafia on his own. The mafia. I was hearing about Master's secretive past from the person who was apparently my senior, and he annihilated them. Though they armed themselves with anti-tank guns and even mobilized helicopters, the heavily armed mafia he buried all 576 of them in the Alps mountains, and so deeply that they could never be found again at that. Damn, I didn't know whether I should cry or laugh. I was so stupefied, my jaw could only drop. I'm satisfied. You're definitely that old man's disciple, so I'll be completely satisfied once I rip the skin off your back. Kuahaha. The bastard had made a terribly smart choice. My legs shook. A true killer who knew magic was standing before me. Asterisk. Fire, arrow, water shield. Bobby bam. Sheeng. Even before I could come to my senses, my foe attacked with fire, arrow magic. I hastily cast water shield. Gah. But he hadn't been lying about having risen to the fourth circle. In just one magic attack, the shield shattered like a window struck by a ball. SWSHH. When a manifestation of mana exceeded its limit, the shield was naturally reduced to water droplets and dispelled. And then came a kick. Pow! I crossed my arms to block his kick, but I cried out at the forceful impact while getting pushed back by several steps. I had strengthened by mana. It seemed he hadn't lied about gaining something called a divine technique. After blocking, the throbbing in my arms told me my bones could break with one wrong step. Slow. It wasn't just attack magic. He freely used third circle magic to try and debuff me with mana. Mana shield. Shwa. A shield made of pure mana unfurled. FWSSSHHHH. The magic created by his incantation crashed into the mana shield, making steam. Shwick. He's a master of fighting. Though I had really fought for my 4th degree black belt, this guy was on a different level. Sparring with my instructor and the other masters was as close to actual fighting as I had gotten. But this guy must have been trained in fighting techniques that knew no mercy, because his fist came raging in as soon as he saw an opening. Palm. Gack. Because it was urgent, I also struck out with my fist. But there must have been spin in his punch, because the sound of bone bouncing off rang out as the skin was torn off the hand that collided into his leather glove. You're pretty good, youngster. Ho. The bastard freely used magic in his fists. I didn't want to acknowledge him, but he was a more outstanding mage than me. I could really die here. The story of my youth, which had just started to bloom. My life could end before it even started, with something like main character was knifed and died. My mouth dried up, and every cell in my body tensed as goosebumps rose sharply on my skin. To win against him, there's only the fourth circle. The bastard was coming in and out like a cat that had caught a mouse and was batting at it. He didn't look tired at all. This little shit. Rage ran through my entire body. In South Korea, not once had I ever been in such a violent situation. Apparently, there was violence in schools, but the strict school rules made that impossible at Daehan High School. And so far, there hadn't been many people who had picked a fight with me. This guy was daring to play with me, Kang Hyuk. I clenched my teeth. I will kill this bastard. We were both in the fourth circle. But it seemed like he didn't know fourth circle magic, and I did. Even if we were at the same circle, if the level of the magic was different, then the difference would be 100-fold, no, even 1,000-fold. If that wasn't the case, everyone would just train their second circle fireball instead of aiming for the eighth circle hellfire magic. Let's finish this now, youngster, since troublesome guys can appear. This was a first-class, first-rate resort on a small island. The cacophonous sound of magic exploding out was more than enough to make the island shake, and guards armed with guns might swarm in. All right, I want to end this too. You dirty gangster shit. Gangster? Paha. At gangster, the bastard broke into laughter while staring up at the sky. Lightning wave. It was a critical moment, so I hastily activated my circle as I thought of lightning wave, which was at the top of the fourth circle attack spells. O strength of mana, unleash your sleeping rage upon this world. O blue bolt of lightning, your friend here earnestly desires your strength. It was a short moment, but I displayed immense concentration as I gathered the mana in my upper, middle, and lower dungeons. And I was able to complete the magic's activation incantation. Zing. I might have concentrated too much because every organ in my body, including my heart, was dunked into stabbing pain. It was an unfamiliar pain. It couldn't even be compared to the time when Master had shoved me onto a magic circle and tortured me. Am I overdoing it? If any mage heard that someone who just risen to the fourth circle, was casting the peak of the fourth circle attack spells, they would call me a crazy bastard. It was as if I were running into the ocean right after learning how to swim, saying that I would cross the Genkai Sea. T/N. The Genkai Sea is a part of the sea between Korea and Japan. FTZZZZ. But even though I felt an abnormal response in my body, the magic was completed anyway. Now I just needed to cast it. The bastard was wearing an unknowable, faint smile while watching me. He knows. I had the vague feeling that he had given me time to cast the magic. Lightning. He must have memorized it thoroughly, because the bastard cast lightning immediately, without even an exchange of mana. FWWTZZZZZ. Though he didn't even have a mana staff, magic lightning coursed along his extended leather glove and burst out like blue streaks of electricity. The blue wave of electricity was blinding, and predicting that the bastard would approach in the heels of the magic, I stretched out my hand. Lightning wave. The fourth circle attack magic that was called a wave of lightning. As the incantation fell from my mouth, I saw my magic surge forward mightily like a rough wave toward the lightning magic the bastard had unleashed. It's over. I had put my all into this fourth circle magic. There was nowhere to run in a radius of 10 meters. Gah! And as I expected, I heard the bastard's short cry from within the blinding light. Don't fuck with me, jerk. Like when I had caught the boar, I grew dizzy and my body reeled, but the exhilaration was so great I felt like I could fly away. Today was a historic day. I had won my first magic duel. Then, suddenly, with a fleshy sound, I felt something flush hotly in my abdomen. How? Even though the pale lightning magic was still spreading wildly around us and making sparkings as it went, the bastard's scorched black face had approached mine. In the strange pain I felt in my abdomen, the strength in my legs vanished and I sank to the ground. And then I saw it. A pale blue knife was deeply embedded in my stomach, leaving only the handle. It had penetrated my abdomen. Hoo-hoo, youngster. You've probably heard about it, about nanotechnology? Cuckoo. There's no magic-resistant mithril here, but in these modern times, there's a thing called science. Kuahaha. Nanotechnology. He was a vicious bastard. Without a doubt, he had definitely researched for years on end in order to kill Master. So I'm going like this. It was unfair. A beautiful, flowery path to my dreams and paradise been perfectly prepared for me. I couldn't even give Urine a proper kiss, and Marisol was probably waiting in my room right now. Master. After the initial wave of pain, my consciousness began to fade. With the extreme agony and the horror that I might die, my mind withdrew from my body. Farewell, you pitiful fourth circle mage. Kuh. I heard the bastard's boorish laughter ring in my ears. I wanted to stand up and get revenge with this knife, but my body was heavy and sluggish. And then the faces of several people came to my mind. Yurin and Jung Hyun, my parents, and lastly, the ever-cocky, notorious pervert, Master Bumdaff. Eat fuck. T/N. The original meaning of fuck here is a traditional Korean taffy snack. I have no idea why taffy became a synonym for a swear word. In my last moments, I forcefully shouted, eat fuck in my mind. W, what's this? The moment my eyes closed and my consciousness dimmed, as if I were intoxicated on medicine, I heard the bastard's surprised voice. His voice was filled with shock, like the next door ladies had been last year when she was scammed out of her money. I'm sleepy. Everything became white, and something soft enveloped me. That was my last memory, while holding the earnest wish that a pretty angel had come out to meet me. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Flash. Oh, it's going. As if a nuclear bomb was exploding, an intense storm of light flashed on the magic circle. And, while looking at the magic circle, the Archmage Adel shouted that it was going at the top of his lungs. Schwinning. It's gone. It feels truly empty. With the disappearance of the magic circle mana he'd condensed for years and years, Adel made a dazed expression. His homeland, Kalian continent, which he had originally intended to return to, but because everything had become too much of a pain, he made a clone and sent him instead. Rascal, who knows if you learned magic properly or not. Adel saw his one and only disciple's cute face in his mind. The boy had taken the unlimited withdrawal card and rejoiced, partaking in joys that were reminiscent of a death row convict's last supper. Even Adel didn't know why the sight of such a disciple kept flickering in his mind. Surely he won't come out as orc poop, right? At least in name, he's still a disciple of the golden-eyed reaper, Adel. Shaking his head, Adel erased the sight of his disciple becoming an orc's meal with effort. I don't know if he arrived well or not. The coordinates were confusing, so I approximated it. I've gotten old too. HNG. Clasping his hands behind his back, Adel lamented his age, without even knowing what had become of his disciple. Oh dear, I'm late. It's time for You're This Mister's Destiny. He suddenly remembered a Korean show he enjoyed watching. Light on his feet, Adel pressed the button of the Magic Tower's elevator. Young life, the young life of youth. When you're old, you can't have it. Without a hitch, he started humming the song that was stuck in his head these days. Strangely enough, he suddenly had a strong craving for something he had eaten a long time ago. It was called taffy. Chapter 8. How to Live in an Unfamiliar Place. Where am I? I heard my groaning as my consciousness flickered back, piece by piece. Is this heaven or hell? I don't want to open my eyes. Judging from all of my past actions, it was 0.1% more likely that this was hell than heaven, so I didn't want to check. The only filial piety I had practiced since being born was sending my parents on the $10,000 cruise vacation. Besides that, there was that time when I ran away from kindergarten, the fight in elementary school, the porn incident in middle school, and in high school, the time I went and disappeared during the school field trip and became a missing person. There was really nothing I could say. And that wasn't all either. With the wicked thoughts I'd had towards countless women and the eat fuck I'd shouted at my master in the very last moment, I would need 100 floggings and an endless 365-day course in hell. Why is this so soft? And a fragrant smell of grass is. While I was sighing disconsolately because it seemed that female demons would rush at me when I opened my eyes, various feelings from my senses swarmed in my head. It was a bit difficult to think that this was hell, where sulphurous flame burned all year long and dashed away any worry of getting cold. Maybe it's heaven. Even now, I could feel the hot knife on the skin of my stomach. I suddenly thought that this might not be hell, but heaven. He's still not awake, huh? Shoo, he's an injured person. As if. Oomph. He even drank a potion, the lifeblood of the villagers. Darren, stop that. Dad told us, remember? That we have to be sympathetic to people more pitiful than us in order to be embraced by the Naren, the goddess of mercy, when we die. Don't wanna. Rather than being happy after death, Darren wants to eat and play right now. What is this sound? While my senses were coming back to me, I clearly heard words from an unfamiliar language. They were words I'd never heard before on the earth, but as if I had an automatic translator in my head, it was interpreted perfectly. Darren, Did Dad and I teach you to be like that? It's not just you. Everyone is suffering. But how can... A girl with a clear and pure voice couldn't bear to continue and fell silent. Be big sis Cecile, I'm sorry. I just wa. When the girl named Cecile fell silent, the boy that had seemed bad-mannered cried as he apologized. The rascal. He's a bit rude, but looks like he was educated well. Wait. Were they talking about me just now? I had been listening in confusion, but someone who had consumed something the villagers treasured, a potion, was being called more pitiful than themselves. My eyes flashed open. Gah! And then I screamed. Yuwa! I wasn't the only one who screamed. The cries of the two people who were surprised by my shout rang out in an unfamiliar hut. Where the hell is this? Yuwa! Why am I lying in a place like this? It was neatly organized, but just one glance told me I was inside a house that reeked of poverty. I could see the entirety of a bare wooden hut that wasn't even 350 square feet. There was a kitchen, if it could be called that, with a stove, a few big cauldrons, and a wooden table, and all kinds of animal leather hung on every wall. On top of that, there was a girl who looked to be my age, and kid about 10 years old. Looking at each other as we cried out, our eyes were wide with shock. Yuwa! He woke up. The pervert panties bro woke up. Kerchunk! Without giving me a chance to say anything, the kid slammed open the door and left, screaming about pervert panties. Hi! Even during that, I collected my wits and waved my hand towards the blonde girl, who happened to be quite cute. But what I got in response was an expression of horror, as if she'd seen a ghost or something. Kerchunk! While she was open-mouthed in shock, the wooden door banged open. And my goodness, he really did wake up. Looks like the potion was indeed effective. Several Western women and men suddenly swarmed into the small room. Wearing rough clothes like I might have seen in a medieval ages movie, they looked at me and whispered amongst themselves. Hello there. I didn't exactly know what was going on, but my life was definitely connected to this situation. I stood up and greeted them. The blanket slipped down. Omo. But amidst the screams of the women, I sank back down. Surprisingly enough, under the blanket, the only thing covering me was a single pair of underwear I'd never seen before, made out of strange fabric. Where the hell am I? Mother, father. I drew the blanket to my chin and earnestly called my parents. Like that saying that you could only be a faithful son if you did your military duty, I had somehow become a faithful son in this unfamiliar place. T/N. Korean men are required to serve in the military for 2 years. Asterisk. So you're saying, this is Luna Village, a town in the territory of Viscount Fiore of Dapa's kingdom? I asked once again with a voice that I didn't realize was trembling. Looks like the severe injury scattered your wits, young lad. I'll say it once more. I don't know where you're from, but Hans here found you collapsed on the beach and brought you here. This is Luna Village, in the Viscounty of Fiore, of the Kingdom of Dapis, in the south of the continent. And I'm a village chief, Aves. Sigh. As if teaching a newly admitted elementary school student, village chief Aves slowly explained, word by word. The village chief who'd lost his front teeth took a deep breath, as if tired from explaining several times. Oh my God, why am I here? Yuwa. I held back from screaming, but I couldn't collect my wits in this absurd situation. Why, what, where? Countless questions raged in my heart. I could remember everything up to getting stabbed by the triad gangster, who claimed to have been Master's disciple. But I couldn't remember anything after that, and the words I was told, kingdom or viscounty or whatnot, were unfamiliar terms to me. And Master, you? Arg. There was only one person who could be the recipient of my countless questions. The culprit responsible for making me an Alice of a strange country could only be Adel, a 200-year-old mage. Fuck. Then does that mean this bracelet was the key for dimensional travel? In this cold reality, once grains of rice were cooked into food, no amount of begging would return the food into grains of rice again. I could surmise that the silver bracelet on my left arm, which had followed me even into this puzzling situation, was an agent of Master's designs. I finally figured out what a link that connects time to time and space to space meant. Hans. Yes, Chief. Since it seems this lad hasn't yet recovered his wits, please take good care of him. It's already crazy because of the taxes, but sigh. I apologize, Chief. Because of me, the one called Hans was a hairy, robust man in his late 40s. He scratched his head as he bowed deeply to the chief. No. Since when has our Luna village become so cold-hearted and ungenerous? It's a shame that a potion was used up, but it can't be helped. This is all within God's plan. Talking about God's plan as if he were a saint, village chief Aves nodded. Let's go then. Saying that, Hans grabbed my shoulders and set me upright. According to the chief's words, this late 40s Mr. named Hans was the savior of my life. It's time for dinner, so we've got to go eat food. Food, Grohl. With the mention of food, my stomach growled loudly as it informed me that it was alive. If you were going to send me, then you should have sent me well. Why the seashore? And I could have drowned. Arg. I knew that master was a person who always lived without restraint, but I really hadn't known that he was such an irresponsible person. I'll definitely return. My paradise. My homeland. South Korea. Gah. The cries I couldn't shout aloud, dragged along by Hans' thick arm, I was towed out of the village chief's house. And then I clenched my teeth and made a vow. I would definitely leave this ridiculous world and return to the earth, and I would definitely repay him for this day. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. This is food. The coarse wooden bowl that was put in front of me held a few potatoes floating around in a clear soup, and a single piece of black bread that smelled like barley landed on the table with a heavy thump. I couldn't tell whether it was bread or a lump of rock. Wow, why are there so many potatoes today? What's with this ridiculous, wretched smell of poverty? Once I realized that the cheer bursting out of the kid named Darren's lips wasn't a lie, I was dazedly submerged in shock. Just before I'd woken up, I had been eating luxury seafood dishes and a feast made by first-class chefs, but what suddenly appeared before me now was the smell of destitution. Eat up, though it's not much. With a face so hairy it could put a bandit to shame, Hans made an apologetic expression. And no, that's not true. These potatoes look sturdier than the ones I've always eaten at home. They're quite appetizing. They were the saviors I was grateful towards for saving my life. The life that had been endangered by master's irresponsibility. If I were to complain about the food, that would make me more dog than human. Let's give it a try. Because my stomach was clamoring, I pretended to be crazy and put a big spoonful of potato into my mouth. Oh, it's good. I cried out in surprise. How can it taste like this? It only looked like a clear soup with a few potatoes floating around in it. But surprisingly, a peculiarly good taste filled my mouth. Is it good? The blonde girl, named Cecile, asked me if it was good with expectant eyes. It tastes just like the food my mother makes. It's truly tasty. It's likely she's got the potential to become a first-class chef. I checked the inside of the bowl again, but truly, all I could see in the soup were the potatoes and a few slivers of vegetable. So even a pervert bro has fallen in love with my big sis cooking? Big sis Cecile is a chef acknowledged by everyone here in Luna Village. The kiddo was eager to spout praises about his big sis. But why does he keep saying pervert, pervert? Hans, why does Darren keep calling me a pervert? Did I make some kind of mistake before I woke up or something? That's well. Hans stammered rather than answering my question straight out. Why did Cecile's face get so red? With Hans unable to answer, I looked towards Cecile in order to ask her and saw her flushing bright red while looking straight down. Ooh, you're really shameless, bro. How can you ask so straightforwardly? What? Now, the only person who would answer me honestly was Darren. You don't remember? Those panties you were wearing? Panties? He was talking about underwear, but the translator operating in my head interpreted that as panties. The clothes I was wearing, gay. Surely not the flower print shorts. How could a man wear such vulgar flower print panties, even though he's not a girl? When Daddy carried you in, you almost weren't able to enter the village because of those blood-soaked flower print panties. We were sure a perverted pirate was shipwrecked and got carried on ashore here. Blood-soaked flower print panties. My head rang dizzily. The short pants that were called shorts by everyone in the 21st century were mistaken as panties here. Actually, Cecile was wearing a long skirt, even though the weather was quite hot. I'm really a pervert. Sigh. A kid's eyes were accurate. If Darren had judged me as a pervert, then the villagers might have mistaken me for a pervert too. But does that mean Cecile saw everything? There was a high chance that she had. Hans had carried me into this house, and the people who went around in this house were Hans, Cecile, and the kid, Darren. Moreover, the only clothing I was wearing now was underwear made of a rough material, and a large piece of clothing that Hans had definitely worn before. Gah! When my thoughts reached that point, a scream burst out within me. Ahem! The soup will get cold. Let's hurry and eat. The atmosphere at the table had suddenly gotten awkward. Hans dipped his bread in the soup as he changed the subject to eating. But isn't this too much? This is next to the sea, so why can't I see even a single anchovy? There is a saying that people next to the sea would grow fat even in times of famine, but that a fish like that ever so common anchovy was nowhere to be seen on the table. As I chewed the hard barley bread, it made me think that Hans might be a penny pincher at the level of Scrooge. But do I have to sleep here tonight? Cecile was still silently eating with her head bowed. The sight of her perfectly tanned skin kept haunting my eyes. Crack. Ugh. Damn, I'm sore. I had only lived on plush mattresses made by Nice, a company that advertised that beds were science. But last night, I had slept atop a single blanket on the floor by the bed where Cecile and Darren slept. And, after moaning all night long, I woke up in the morning and let out an invigorating shout as the bones all over my body popped back into position. Why is everyone going out so early? The dim light visible through the open wooden window told me it was only daybreak, but before I woke up, Cecile and Hans carefully left the room. I knew they'd tried to not wake me up, but my sensitive ears couldn't help but hear them. Mom, mommy, mommy. Just then, Darren, the lucky brat who'd slept in Cecile's embrace throughout the long night, began to call for his mom and woke me up entirely. Mommy, cried the little kid sorrowfully. TCH. His mournful cries for his mommy suddenly reminded me of a memory from when I was young. When I was a child, from when my memories were still hazy, there was a time when I woke up to find that my mom wasn't by my side. Feeling as if the world was collapsing, I too had cried like this brat. And after crawling through the entire house, I was able to find my mom. Unable to bear the strain of child watching any longer, my mom had been cowardly snoozing in my dad's embrace. Darren, wake up. It's your Hyung, Kair. Tien. Hyung means older brother. After finishing dinner last night, Hans finally asked for my name. But when I told him it was Kang Hyuk, Hans nodded and pronounced it as Kair. And my name became not Kang Hyuk, but Kair. Older bro. Yoa. Hyung. Find my mommy. Mommy. HNNG. When I took him to my arms, kid sorrowfully cried for his mom. But his mom isn't here. Darren, where is your mom? I can find her only if I know where she is. Oh, really? Hyung, you'll find my mommy. Besides being a tad rude, he was a cute, blonde kid. Of course, even though I look like this, your Hyung is a very strong person. Whoa, then are you a knight? And no, I'm not a knight, but then if you're not a knight, a mage? With curious eyes that seemed to be asking when I would go find his mom, Darren asked if I was a mage. That's right. Your Hyung is a mage. Just believe in your bro. I'll find your mom with magic. Rascal, you're pretty sharp. Having accurately figured out that I was a mage, I looked at Darren proudly. I imagined he would soon look at me, a mage, with a look of respect. As if, did you think I'm a kid that would fall for a lie like that? It's fine, so let me go now, you smell like sweat. But what came into my ear was a parade of words that I hadn't expected at all. I was dumbfounded by the sudden transformation in Darren's attitude. How refreshing. Hee. What should I play with today? Darren left my arms and went straight for the door. The sight of a young, innocent lamb searching for his mommy just a moment ago was nowhere to be seen. The lamb had transformed into an impossibly wicked neighborhood menace. Damn it. Art. Kair Hyung. Stopping as he was about to leave, the little menace Darren called me. What? Thanks. Having turned my head instinctively towards his call, my eyes caught sight of the kid's smile. Wiping the tears that had dripped down his face with the back of his hand, Darren put on a happy front and ran outside. Asterisk. This is nice. Coming out into the brisk air that felt like a September morning in Korea, I filled my lungs. This is totally picture perfect. It had been nearly evening last night, and everything had been disorienting, so I hadn't caught sight of the village panorama. But now that it was morning, the scene before my eyes was exactly like the peaceful, pastoral landscape that I'd seen in paintings. Cotton clouds floated about in the sky and paddled towards the sea. The blue ocean waves I saw beyond the village felt to me as if they could ease and revitalize the air in even an ill man's lungs. The fairly large mountaintops positioned behind the village made me flush with great vigor. Back to the mountain, front to the sea. It's the perfect location. 100 or so houses made of logs had been jammed into the village. Hans' house was a little higher up than the others, so I could see the panorama of the village all in one look. It's exactly like a small fortress. With the sea and mountains, as well as fairly large fields, the village was surrounded in the natural protectors of wood, dirt, and rock. The village was approximately 3 meters above sea level, able to block most attacks. Huh, but those people there, what are they doing? Like the proverb that the early bird gets the worm, the villagers were working hard on the fields that were just starting to brighten with light. Why are the delicate women doing field work instead of the strong men? Do they not have horses? People are plowing the fields. Having come from a 21st century civilization with cutting-edge machines, I saw a farming method I couldn't understand. Though quite a few people lived in the village, I couldn't see any livestock like cows or horses. There were only people to do the rough field work, which a cow or horse should be doing, and the men were mostly guarding the area with bows on their backs and spears in their hands. Right, I should earn my keep. I actually feel sorry. I wanted to repay the simple villagers who had treated me by using something called a potion. After all, to me, my life was as valuable as the sky itself. Thankfully, there's nothing wrong besides a small scar. Breathing deeply, I checked to make sure there was nothing wrong in my mana field. Besides my circle being relatively drained of mana, it was all good. Like Master said, the amount of mana here is way more than on Earth. Even if you rose to the 4th circle, not all 4th circle mages were the same. The size of the circle you possessed, the amount of stored mana, and your concentration power and willpower, as well as your harmonic force with the mana in nature and differences in mana channeling techniques. All these factors played a part in determining a mage's skill. Better safe than sorry. There's no knowing when I'll run into another guy like that Chinese rogue. Thinking of the bitter lesson I had painfully learned with my body, I grit my teeth. But why are they leaving the perfectly good sea and plowing the fields instead? It looks like a fishing village, but there isn't even a single boat. The nearby sea had a gentle slope to it and appeared abundant with not only fish, but all kinds of byproducts, like clams. But there wasn't even a single person hanging around the seashore. Well, maybe I should go lend a hand. When I was young, there was a time when I went to my grandpa's house and helped him with field work a few times. Reviving that memory, I walked towards the fields where people were gathered to work. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Good morning. Because I was an energetic fellow no matter when or where I was, I threw a greeting to the hard-working villagers with a loud voice. Kyre, so you woke up? Omo, it's that black-haired young man. Do you think he's still wearing that underwear? Plowing instead of talking, Hans responded to my greeting, and the village women whispered and laughed upon seeing me. Sigh, if that's underwear, then I wonder what they would say if they saw a thong. I was truly curious about what they would say if they were to see the underwear popular in the 21st century. I see everyone is busy. Indeed. The tax collection day is drawing near, but we've had a terrible harvest. All right, stop playing and move it, folks. Luina's moon will be in the sky in a few days, so we have to finish setting up the harvest before then. At someone's reply to my remark, Chief Aves urged everyone to hurry. He was standing on the field and overseeing the work. Luina's moon? What does the moon have anything to do with the harvest? Besides the language and magic knowledge, nothing came to mind. Anyways, looks like Hans is having a hard time. The other men aren't even thinking of helping. The strict guard I noticed yesterday night caught my attention. I remembered seeing 10 or so armed village men with torches in their hands as we were heading to the chief's house in the setting sun. There are dozens of men. Most of the strong and useful men didn't even think of helping the struggling women and were staring holes into the nearby forest. All the while, they maintained a taut tension, as if they were in war. Are there monsters or something? I'd never seen such things like monsters. I was curious about the mysterious monsters that appeared in fantasy novels or movies. Kyre, don't just stand there and help us, will you? Huh? Yes, sir, Chief. Because the others were busily harvesting potatoes, the chief was rebuking me as I blankly stood around. Hans, I'll give it a try. His face and body covered in sweat, I call Hans' name and had him stop. You will? That'll be too much for you right now, though. I may look like this, but I'm quite strong. Please just leave it to me. Then I'll leave it to you for a bit. That's right, Dad. Please rest a little. Cecile, who had been holding onto the plow that Hans was pulling, made a face of regret. The attentive ones are quite kind after all. Cecile was 16, a year younger than me. As was the specialty of Western women, she was already not far from being a grown-up woman. Try holding it like this. Hans, who looked like a brigand but was as kind as they came, made an apologetic expression as he fixed the plow to my shoulders. G.H. S so heavy. With the feeling of the fairly heavy plow, which I had wrongly underestimated, I felt admiration anew towards Hans. There's no help in it. If I just dragged the plow like this, rumors of my low stamina would fly, and people here might even say that I wasn't a man. The villagers didn't have a very good first impression of me anyways, because of the pervert panties incident. As I took Han's plow, the villagers stopped their work and stared at me with interested eyes. The spell for weight reduction was this, right? I recalled the third circle weight reducing lighten spell, quietly modified it, and chanted the incantation. Lighten. HM, did you say something? No, sir. Ha! It's just that I was surprised because it was lighter than I thought. It's light? Oh, you're stronger than you look, huh? Then I look. A height of 6'1" and a weight of 165 pounds was a fairly bulky physique, but it appeared that Han saw me as no more than a weakling who couldn't even kill a chicken. Shall I try putting some mana in my legs, too? It kind of bothered me that the first magic I cast after coming to this world was for farming, but I couldn't just ignore the people who had saved my life. And because the potion I had consumed seemed to be very precious to these people, I have to repay them many times over in order to not feel guilty about it. Cecile. Yes. Looking at me with a worried expression, Cecile answered me cautiously. Hold on tight. Hyuk. Thanks to the fairly powerful lighten magic, the human-powered plow was about as heavy as a pair of sneakers. Vigorously shouting, Hyuk. As if I'd become a horse or something, I ran. Bat. Oh my. Ahaha. So this is why Rudolph wants to run forever. Having becoming a horse for the first time in my life, I roughly upturned the field. And while doing so, I felt the instinct to run. The feeling of the soft ground beneath my feet refreshed me. Chapter 9. My name is Kyr. Phew, you're truly impressive. Oh, we finished the work easily thanks to you, Kyr. Pant. The side effects of mana are arg. Greatly encouraged by the sight of everyone's surprised faces, I had upturned the field like a crazy filly. And thus came the state of mana exhaustion. Characteristic of spells like lighten, mana was constantly drained while the spell was being maintained. The result was that I exhausted my mana within 1 hour and only had enough strength to pick up chopsticks. I don't have enough mana. I have to expand my circle to the utmost and increase the mana. According to the law of mana drainage, differences in the amount of mana in the circle were very subtle at first, but as soon as you became an upper circle mage, the differences were like heaven and hell. I was able to fill my circle with mana far more easily than others thanks to the remarkable channeling method Master had taught me, but I couldn't fill the fourth circle all the way yet. But Hans, why don't you cultivate the land over there? It's a pretty large area. About 1 kilometer away from the village, fairly expansive plains stretched out and used. The slope was decent, and from the looks of the thickly growing grass, the plains definitely had good soil as well. Our harvest last year was small, so we can't cultivate it. Huh, what does the harvest have to do with cultivation? What in the world is he saying? I thought, confused. Where are you from, lad? Are you not a person of this continent? Or did you come from an island where there aren't any monsters? Ha, I don't remember, so I don't know where I lived. When something was hard to say, the best excuse was amnesia. I see. So that's why you say such things. Even as he spoke, Hans gazed at the expansive land with eyes of regret. I'm not some kind of fortune teller, so I'll only know if you say it. Having upturned the field with the plow, the women carefully stored the potatoes. Hans and I were able to rest a bit on grass. There was a drought last year, so the crop harvest, including the potatoes, weren't good. We couldn't catch fish, so we were depending on the field crops. Why can't you catch fish? The sea looks perfectly fine. I still couldn't understand Hans' words. Do you see the Zar Mountains over there? Yes. A number of mountain tops were clustered side by side in the Zar Mountain range. The range boasted an exceptional appearance that was reminiscent of a man's spirit. There are mountains there and mountains behind our village as well. And the monsters and demon beasts that exist in the mountains can easily come to our village. Wait, so what do demon beasts and monsters have to do with the harvest? Instead of explaining with ease and clarity, Hans sighed regretfully as he spoke. Besides the taxes we must pay to the Lord, we must also acquire potions from the temple. Potions? That's right. Blessed by the sacred god, potions aren't just for healing wounds. It's also precious holy water that greatly repels monsters, especially demon beasts. Oh, I see. But usually, a potion only remains effective for a year. So every year, after paying our taxes, we acquire potions with the remaining money. For independent villages like us that don't receive the Lord's protection, potions are even more necessary. If we don't put a potion on the land we're cultivating or on the boat we use to catch fish, there's no knowing when a demon beast will appear and slaughter us. That's ridiculous. Hans was saying that farming and catching fish were only possible if potions were acquired with the money left after paying taxes. If the harvest wasn't good, like it had been last year, then there was less money for buying potions, and that could result in not being able to cultivate the land right in front of you. But aren't there the villagers standing guard over there? Can't they win against a demon beast? Lad, so you've really lost your memory. How could you think that farmers like us can take on demon beasts, which can face knights using Aura Blade? The people over there are just for blocking monsters like orcs. Aura Blade. No exact knowledge of demon beasts came to my mind. Hans, but this is the Callian continent, right? Have you forgotten even that? Past being dumbfounded, the hairy Hans looked at me with an expression of pity. Ark, I've become a real birdbrain. The one and only Kang Hyuk, the reckless kid who lived with pride, had been reduced to an ignorant amnesiac who only knew his own name. Then the potion I drank was... that was a potion we bought the year before last. The chief was holding on to it because it was a waste to throw it away. Gay. What the hell? Doesn't that mean I drank a potion that was past the expiration date? Yua. Thanks to you, a potion past its prime didn't go to waste. Thanks. Hans, who had briefly turned me into a guinea pig for drug experiments, bowed his head. If it hadn't been effective. It was a gruesome thought. Dad, come eat lunch. Let's go. Our work this morning was quickly finished thanks to you, lad. Yes. I'll leave the afternoon to you as well. Ahem. Hans spoke as rose, dusting his hefty bottom. While getting up, my body stiffened right then and there. Maybe it'll rain tomorrow. Hans slowly walked towards Cecile and the villagers without looking at me. I'm not just a bird brain. I've totally become a cow today, I lamented, looking at the potato field, which had become wider than before. See, I breathed out a long sigh. I had consumed a potion past its expiration date, but I had to be thankful that I lived after drinking it. It couldn't be helped that I had consumed it, after all. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I can't live like this. I want to eat meat. Completely labeled as the village livestock, I've been forced to do plowing work for the past 3 days. Even so, it was fine. After all, I was using magic and repaying my life debt to the people. But the problem was food. I didn't know how much the territory tax was, but I caught a glimpse of fear from the people. Fear that they might not even be able to subsist with grain for meals, much less potatoes. And so, I decided on an ambitious plan. It was the grand I've got to eat me plan. If things went wrong, I could die of malnutrition before I left this world. So the thing is, in the past, before there was the big threat of monsters, they hunted and harvested greens in the forest and caught fish in the sea all year round. Since I'd worked hard to upturn the field for 3 days, the villagers were friendly to me, and I was able to hear a lot from them. In the past, this Luna village was quite a well off in the territory. At one point, it was a village that had a population of over 1,000 people. But 10 years ago, on Luina's moon, a day when monsters became more ferocious, monsters like orcs and ogres appeared and attacked the village. Because they had always been prepared, the village watch was able to drive away the monsters, but they suffered a massacre from the demon beasts that cunningly appeared like wolves after that. The beasts had invaded because the scarily ignorant orcs had laid waste to the bottle holding the potion. Thus the village was brought to near destruction, and the survivors were now working hard to cling to life. So, they can't hunt if they can't buy potions. Yeah? Hoo-hoo-hoo. They didn't know, but I was a kind mage who had come from another world. How could a mage like me ignore the village's crisis? Flop flop. That is. I was on a seaside cliff, where I could see the village in one glance. I had discovered it today, and it was quite a nice place. I could see the blue horizon extending endlessly, and upon seeing a huge object suddenly jump up above the horizon, my jaw dropped. Tuna. Oh my god, it's tuna. Very rarely, when my mother was in a good mood, I was able to taste tuna sashimi. Even then, it was a frozen tuna caught in the Pacific Ocean, but I still remembered the taste. The tuna's fatty belly meat, streaked with white stripes, called the supreme tuna belly. That incredible, unforgettable taste of the meat slowly melting in your mouth. The huge fish that was jumping up from afar by the horizon was definitely called a tuna. Somehow, I'd unknowingly activated magic, allowing me to confirm it with my own eyes. 1, 2, oh, this is a sea of tuna. Tuna, the luxury fish whose more expensive individuals could reach prices of over 1 million in the neighboring island nation known as Japan. Starved for meat, the sight of the tuna drove me crazy. With just one, all the villagers could throw a party. The feelings of the villagers, who couldn't go catch the tuna despite seeing them right before their eyes. Now I thought I could understand why the vitality in their eyes had disappeared. Not only did land monsters exist, but there were underwater monsters in the water too. Because they were a number of fairly big ones, you could only catch fish if you had a few potions. Gra, you're all dead. I had never craved for meat this much in my life. No matter how cold-hearted my parents were in disciplining their offspring, they gave me meat at least once every 3 days. This is no time to be sitting around. The tuna, appearing like a mirage. I couldn't miss them. The freedom of mana shall soon be the freedom of the wind. Fly. Today, after finishing the potato harvest, the villagers had all gone out to the field to sow wheat. Atop the cliff, away from their eyes, I cast flight magic. With a swoosh, my body floated into the air. Flap, flap. Having become a bird, I flew towards the sea. In my hands was the small spear Hans had given me for self-protection. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Have you found him? No. He's nowhere to be found in the village. HRGH, this lad, where did he go? Tomorrow, Luina's moon will rise. Thanks to the black-haired young man who had suddenly appeared in the village, Kyre, the villagers had been able to finish the potato harvest early, and even sow the wheat. Though they had planned on returning home with their tired bodies and resting, when Hans cried out that Kyre had disappeared, everyone set about to comb the village. But the young man named Kyre was nowhere to be found. Surely he didn't go into the forest, right? Surely not. We seriously warned him that it was dangerous. He didn't run away, did he? What do you mean, run away? It's not like he racked up a debt with us or anything. The 200 or so villagers were gathered and whispering amongst themselves in the village square, where the chief's house was. The sun had dropped at some point, and night was about to fall. It was too much for the village watch to go outside and look for him now. Kyre. When the villagers were talking amongst themselves, Cecile had her hands together and was praying to the goddess of mercy while thinking of Kyre. Kyre, a boy with uncommon black hair. It had been just a few days, but she had grown fond of Kyre. He made a smile that refreshed her heart whenever she looked at him, especially because he had dripped sweat while dragging the plow in the place of her father. Kyre was a man to whom Cecile was grateful. She was so grateful to Kyre, who did the hard work instead of her father, whose strength had waned because there was little to eat these days. Dear God, please let nothing bad happen. Closing her eyes, Cecile prayed to Naren. He's here. Kyre has appeared. He's walking from a beach. Just then, the name of Kyre came bursting out of the mouths of the several guards standing on the village palisade. The beach. Why from such a dangerous place? All the villagers swarmed towards the part of the palisade where the door to the beach was. Since the people of Luna Village thought of other people's problems as their own, everyone was sincerely worried about Kyre. TMP, TMP, TMP. Cecile's eyes flashed open from praying ardently to God, and then, grabbing Darren's hand, he'd been standing at her side. She ran towards the door facing the beach as the villagers swarmed to it. HNG, HNG. Arg. So hard, T-Sich. My hunger had driven me to fly recklessly above the ocean. Then, like the grandpa main character in The Old Man and the Sea, I underwent a desperate struggle to catch tuna. So many tuna were swimming about that the ocean 1 kilometer away from the village was half water, half tuna. But the problem was that the only weapon in my hands was a feeble spearhead lodged into a sturdy wooden shaft. Moreover, I wasn't securely in a boat, but maintaining flight magic to catch the leaping tuna. It was as hard as a blind man catching a pheasant with a stone. I looked for chances and stabbed in vain hundreds of times, all while in midair. Whenever my mana fell, I retreated to the beach to catch my breath, then went flying off again to catch a tuna. I absolutely wanted to avoid eating a few potatoes floating about in a clear soup and the teeth-shattering barley bread. And then I was finally able to stick my spear into the head of a blind tuna. Why'd it have to be such a big one, geez? The problems just kept on coming. The tuna that just happened to get caught by my lame stabbing was easily over 100 kilograms. I almost got dragged into the ocean by the speared fish. It must have been a fellow that had eaten a lot of natural, healthy food, because it was as strong as a bull in heat, though that was a bit of an exaggeration. As soon as the fish got stabbed and dove into the water, I was forced to buckle down and raise my mana output to the max. If things went wrong, I could even become fish food while trying to catch the tuna. Clenching my teeth, I invested all the 4th circle mana I had and fought desperately to keep the fish from submerging. And so it went for a long 30 minutes. The moment I was about to run out of the once plentiful fourth circle mana, the fish went totally slack-jawed and lost its will to live. The sight of that made me cry manly tears because I had been about to let go of the spear and give up. After the boar, it was the second hunt I'd won through magic. The happiness of having become a mage who could earn his own meal was indescribable. Phew, I'm finally here. Dragging the fish with the spear, I reached the beach. I wasn't able to meet the sea monsters everyone had told me about, and I proudly dragged my harvest towards the village. That is after recovering my mana for a bit and applying light and magic, which I had trained to perfection these days, to the fish. Ma mater. Oh, goodness. How long it has been since I last saw a mater. H, how did you catch a mater on your own? Gay. W, why did they run towards me like this? Though I had cast light and magic since I had spent half the day overdoing it with the flight magic, my muscles were screaming, save me. I had shouldered the tuna with the one resolve to eat meat even in that pain, so I was late to realize that people had appeared around me. Whoa, the young lad Kyer caught a mater. The chief. Hurry and call the chief. Everyone raised a ruckus, bursting out with cheers upon seeing the tuna. The villagers didn't even think about helping me and went looking for the chief instead. Haha, hey, this is heavy, you know. I couldn't even move because of all the people blocking my way. Flop. Ish, whatever, since it could just be washed if a little sand got on it. I gently laid the tuna onto the ground. But since it was a fairly heavy tuna, it sank deeply into the sand. Oh, a mater was caught? A mater! And, looking at the huge tuna and me, gap-toothed, old Chief Aves appeared amongst the villagers with such excitement that no one could but in. It's really a mater. The first mater I've seen in 10 years. Without even looking at me, Chief got so riled up at the sight of the tuna. He would definitely have a fit if he knew that in the 21st century, tuna like this were farmed from the ocean. What a shame. If this was Korea, I could score a jackpot with a Japanese restaurant. Far over there, a school of tuna were still jumping up. If I were to catch that fresh tuna and sell it, the Japanese would go nuts and rush at me. Oh lad, who are you really? Recovering from the tuna, Chief Aves looked at me and asked who I was. It wasn't just the chief. All the villagers that had rushed over had the same question in their eyes. Kyer. Ha, my name is Kyer. Scratching my head, I gave a refreshing smile. I'm Kyer, a mage from the 21st century. That's who I am. Ha. While holding back and hiding the truth I couldn't reveal within my heart. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Kaya, this is killer. I was eating the tuna stew cooked by Cecile, whose cooking skill was ridiculously perfect and deceptive in appearance. With just one tuna, I had received immense gratitude from the villagers. The meat was divided into about 100 parts, so each family could have some to eat, and with a chunk of meat just larger than a fist, the villagers wept as they relayed their feelings of thanks. Apparently, it was precious meat that was hard to catch even 10 years ago, so they couldn't just have a taste of it. And just like that, the tuna I caught gave a small comfort to the villagers who had been losing hope. Hyung, it's really tasty. Before, I only admired Dad, but now I want to admire you too. The tuna head that was left over after deboning the meat was my share, and with that plump, fleshy head, Cecile made a very tasty fish stew. And for the silly little kid, a few pieces of meat made me his hero. So your pops gets more admiration than a mage. Rascal. With the tuna broth bringing joy to my mouth, I contentedly let Darren's immature remark pass. Sigh, it sure was tasty, but if we had sold the mater, it would have helped towards the tax. Seriously, how much is this tax? All the villagers are bemoaning the tax. Hans, how much is the tax? Why is everyone so busy worrying about the tax? Sorry, to make even an outsider like you worry about the villagers, Hans scratched his head. I'm hurt, Hans. I, at least, have never thought of the villagers, including you, Cecile, and Darren, as strangers. Though it hadn't been many days since coming to this new world, I had been touched by the generosity of these simple people, something you couldn't easily experience in the 21st century. To save a stranger like me, they had given me the food they had little of and even a place to sleep. It made me sad that Hans thought of me as stranger. And no, that's not what I mean. I just don't want to burden even you with the troubles of village. You're young and overflowing with dreams, after all. You drive me crazy. Just hurry and tell me how much it is. I understood how Hans felt, but if he received a sincere act of kindness, repaying it many times over was best. Free was free, and a debt was a debt. In the kingdom currency, it's 50 gold. The tax assigned to our village, said Cecile quietly, in the place of her father. 50 gold. Wait, gold sounds like golden coins, but how much is that? I didn't have any clear reference points for this place's currency, so I looked blankly at Cecile with my eyes wide open. A healthy horse is 5 gold. But as you've seen, the things produced from our village are only potatoes, wheat, and leather from the few animals we can catch once in a last year's moon. We would have made a few gold from the mater we ate today, but T/N. I'm guessing last year is a deity of fortune, so it's like once in a blue moon, Callian continent style. Hans was sorrowfully grieving for the tuna, even after eating his fill. It wasn't as if he didn't know a tuna wouldn't come back once eaten, but he was stirring the tuna meat in his bowl with his spoon while looking at it regretfully. Ah, I wish I had the unlimited withdrawal card. The absolutely powerful platinum card, which had made me love Master Bumdaff in the blink of an eye. I seriously needed it in this moment. I wanted to withdraw a few million or so at an ATM somewhere. Hans, how much would a demon beast cost? Demon beast? HRM. Why are you suddenly asking about them? Hans' mouth dropped at the mention of a demon beast. From what I heard, since it takes a knight capable of using Aura Blade to hunt one, it must cost quite a lot, right? Of course, the leather of a demon beast demands a high price, but stop dreaming. I don't know how you were so fortunate to catch a mater, but a demon is a creature of a totally different caliber. Demon beasts descended from the demonic creatures summoned long ago, in the time of the Divine War. I heard it even takes few knights to be able to face one. Demands a high price? Hoo-hoo. All right, that's exactly it. I paid no heed to Hans' other words. Hans, but why doesn't the Lord subjugate the demon beasts? The village even pays taxes, so shouldn't he at least deploy some soldiers? Hyung, you're an idiot, right? Darren looked up from picking the bones clean of tuna and stared at me with a look of pity. What? If it were you, would you send knights and soldiers to a worthless village like this when they could even be killed? I had known that kids were scary, but Darren was on a level of his own. The kid was clever enough to swindle the naive villagers. Darren is right. 10 years ago, our village even paid a tax of 1,000 gold. Back then, monster hunting mercenaries occasionally took up residence here, and since many merchants came through, dozens of soldiers were dispatched. But they all died from the attack of the demon beasts, and with the village ruined, the Lord lost interest in us. There are probably 100 places to help besides us in the territory. But then why do you pay the taxes? If you have that money, you can live in comfort. We can do that if we want to die for treason. Treason? Isn't this totally mobster style? I'd heard that in the Middle Ages, lords played king in their land, but I hadn't known that such a thing was happening even in a place like this. By any chance, is there anyone who has ever hunted a demon beast in a village? A demon beast? There's just one person. He was the village's top warrior in his youth. Who is that? You know him too. That person is the chief. What? The chief. Chief Aves, who spoke while babbling like a newborn baby, and had lost most of his teeth. It wouldn't be strange even if he were to die today or tomorrow, so I couldn't believe that he had once been the village's top warrior. Let's go to sleep now. Luina's moon is rising from tomorrow onwards, so we have to mend the palisade. Cecile, thanks for the meal. It was nothing. There's no need to thank me. We had a good meal for the first time in a long while thanks to you, Kyre. It was nothing. I didn't do much. Cecile was a year younger than me, but for some reason I couldn't relax my speech around her. To me, Cecile was such a charming woman that even if she were to go to a nightclub, she wouldn't be subjected to a serious check. Oh, it's a relief that I'm in Han's house and not the chief's. There was a saying that you could only experience the true taste of alcohol if it was poured by a woman, even if she was a granny. I liked Han's house, which was filled with the fragrant aroma of a woman, even if I had to sleep on the hard, bare ground, which made my whole body ache when I woke up in the morning. Asterisk. Ooh. Breathing in deeply, I finished mana channeling. I was on the cliff I discovered a few days ago, where I could clearly see the village and the sea. Hidden from prying eyes, it was just the thing for training. I haven't maximized the circle yet. Seriously, what a huge amount of mana. The difference between third circle mana quantity and the fourth circle was like the difference between a condo and an apartment building. Though the environment of the Callian continent was flush with considerably high-density mana, I still couldn't fully fill the huge circle wrapped around my waist area. I'll have to fill it up for another 15 days, at the very least. After rising to the third circle, I've been able to fully charge the circle with mana in just 3 days, but the fourth circle was on a different level. The problem isn't the mana quantity, but the skillful use of magic. It's too dangerous to act cool and play wizard like other mages do. Though I'd grown past being the orc poo that Master had intimidated me with, and was now at the level of ogre poo, I felt that the fourth circle wasn't enough. Just catching a single tuna a few days ago had been a handful, so it was still too much to fight against monsters, demon beasts, and knights using Aura Blade. About to get stronger. Clenching my teeth tightly, I realized that I had to live as if I were in a Marine Corps boot camp training ground. Even if you were powerless like the people of Luna Village, no one in the continent would protect you. In Korea, the military men and the cops were around to ensure safety, but not here. I have to skillfully graft together magic and actual martial arts like that guy. The Chinese gangster who'd left a blade sitting pretty in my belly. I recalled the movements he had attacked me with. Thankfully, I've learned how to use a sword. And with the mana-breathing technique Master taught me, I can learn magic, the sword, and even summoning. Now, all that's left is my efforts. I had sought out the chief and asked him several things about demon beasts. Things about the kinds of beasts, their characteristics, and even how to handle demon leather. Since the villagers tried not to leave their houses for a month, as Luna's moon rose, even during the day, the chief spluttered on and on about his 99% false tales of heroism and demon beasts for a long half-day. All throughout, he was wearing an expression of, "I've got you now." It was the appearance of a new hero, one who could rival Ms. Wang's Sun Nio, the dreaded Snow White. He'd also lost his teeth and was speaking with an accent that was hard to understand. While concentrating and listening to him, I reached a level of exhaustion that was on par with the time when Master had trapped and tortured me on a magic circle. Most demons have a certain degree of tolerance to magic, and even knights using Aura Blade have to be blade knights at least to be able to catch them. They're strong, and I'm still weak. I coldly accepted the reality. I was the disciple of an 8th Circle Archmage, but I wasn't an Archmage myself. Chiang, a sword. At the end of half a day of mental assault, Chief gave me the sword he'd used in his youth, saying that I had allowed him to taste Mater again before he died. It was called a long sword. I kept recalling the phase, weight of a sword, something my instructor had told me after earning my Kumdo second Dan. The sword becomes one with the mind. Unlike the other styles of Kumdo, which were universally known, the Swift-style Kumdo I had learned was the pure, characteristic style of my people, descended from the Goguryeo period. And the Swift-style Kumdo taught disciples that the sword was the mind. Strength. Xing. After unsheathing the sword, I forcefully cut downwards. Wait. Xing. I slowly raised the sword again, maintaining its brimming power. Speed. Bum. After raising the sword, I swung it sideways with all the strength I could muster. These 3 conditions are the first and last techniques of the sword. Even for flashing moves, if those 3 conditions aren't met, they're merely trickery of the eye. I'll make all of these conditions mine. I had quit Taekwondo and the sword in 7th grade to immerse myself in studying to get into Daehan High School. And now, in this unfamiliar place called the Kalian continent, I had to pick up the sword again to survive. Until the day I returned, surviving was my absolute greatest priority. You tuna, you're all dead. Unaware of my resolution, the tuna were leaping above the sea, mocking me. The day I learned how to double cast 4th circle magic would surely be a funeral day for the tunas. Demon beasts, just you wait. Ho-ho. I turned my head to gaze at the splendid sight of the Zar Mountains, which ran opposite to the sea. Until the day I returned, I had to eat and live. But I couldn't live in poverty while eating potatoes. I needed amazing merchandise in order to live a hearty, long, and glorious life. Ooh-ha-ha-ha. My heart was filled with the mana of the Kalian continent. I was Kang Hyuk, a man who'd received extreme special training since birth, training to be able to survive no matter where he was. There was nothing to fear just because it was a different world. The most childish daredevil in the entire world. The only human under the sky who possessed such childish recklessness, and an Archmage disciple from a 21st century world at that. That man was none other than me, Kang Hyuk. No, Kyre. Chapter 10. Catching a Demon Beast. Stop right there, boar. Squeal. Squeal. Thursday, Thursday, thump. Do-do-do-dump. So this is what it felt like to become a master. On Earth, I suffered for half a day on top of Boulder, but now I was chasing a huge boar instead. Although I hadn't even cast haste magic, when I gathered mana at my feet, my body flew like an arrow. Then came the great chase. I went into the mountains about 2 kilometers behind the village and struggled for 30 or so minutes. After finding a house-sized boar rooting things out of the ground while sunbathing, I quickly gave chase. Why am I suffering like this just so I can test Aurablade? It had already been over a month since I began living in Luna Village. In that month, I thought long and hard about how to survive in this world like a tenacious rubber band and return to Earth. From information I gathered from the villagers, I was able to determine that, according to the political gangsters they called nobles, power and force were favored over the law. Thanks to my master, who sent me here through dimensional travel without warning, I was left with only my skill in magic. Since it would only be possible to return to Earth and pursue my dreams of paradise if I got stronger, I immediately understood the need for me to develop my skills. So I dove into learning fourth circle magic like a madman, charging my mana, and practicing the sword like my life depended on it, all with a full-on nosebleed. For the first time in my life, I clenched my teeth and worked on my magic and sword skills with blood pouring from my nose. With dedicated mana breathing, I filled the fourth circle with so much mana that it undulated, and I gained the ability to double cast fourth circle magic. In particular, I concentrated on training my sword skills, the swift sword style I had trained in for a whole 8 years after starting elementary school. Although I invested considerable time and effort over a long period of time, I was only able to reach the 3rd Dan. But on the day I left the dojo while at the 3rd Dan, the top grandmaster of the swift sword came out wearing his formal garb and patted my head, saying that a genius had been born into the field of Kumdo. Apparently, I had that much talent in the sword. Aurablade, so that was Aurablade, you say? Cuckoo. The name alone made it seem like it was something elegant. It took a considerable effort at first. The knowledge I'd gained from Master only covered magic, so it was a real headache to learn the sword. I'd heard that I could make an Aurablade using the new mana breathing technique Master created, but figuring out the method was a problem. If I took one wrong step, my mana could flood or collapse, so I had to be extremely careful. And then, not too long ago, at the edge of a cliff during a lightning storm, I had a realization. As if coiled around something, streaks of blue lightning rammed incessantly into the sea, as if beating a wanton wife. Seeing that, I was struck by an idea. Tien, in the olden ages, men used to beat their wives if they went sleeping around. It's a bad joke. Yin, they still do that. Aurablade. Hello. Even now, just thinking about it made me tingle with excitement. The feeling when I circulated the mana in the circle and slowly injected the mana into my sword. As if plugging the sword in, the blade started emitting blue energy. It was like when sword energy, that's what it was called in martial arts, went from my hand to the world. That feeling my father must have felt when he took me into his arms at the maternity ward, runny with tears and snot. Even now, I'm touched. The feeling of the energy that emitted light like a living creature and made my hand vibrate every time I injected mana. My baby, Aurablade, came into the world with the brightness of a lighthouse in the dark night when I gathered all the mana of the fourth circle. An incredible feeling swept through me, and I did a sword dance like a creature possessed as the cliff winds buffeted me. Aurablade is the best way to attack in close quarters. Ho! It wasn't sharp enough to cut through rocks as if they were tofu, like you saw in martial arts novels, but it could put a big gouge in a sturdy boulder. What I need is an actual battle. Boar. I'm sorry, but you'll have to die for my sake. Because I've already had a bad experience with boars, the sight of rapidly fleeing boar, laying waste to the forest as it ran, with cheekily quivering tushy buttocks, made fierce desires surge within me. I hadn't gotten proper nutrition for a month because of my intense training, so the boar was bound to an untimely end. I absolutely couldn't lose it. Magic is pretty useless for hunting things that move. I suddenly thought of those game-loving kids who gathered in the classroom every morning talking about how mages struggled in the beginning and got stronger. I had become a fourth circle mage, but hiding quietly and casting magic like a cowardly assassin didn't suit my tastes. I wanted to experience that electrifying rush you get when you charge with hilt in hand, going head-to-head with your adversary. Since I was trying to cook up the boar with a sword instead of magic, the huge boar must have sensed something when I appeared and was now desperately running away. This pork! I was forced to cast the magic that I had saved in preparation for some unknown danger. If I kept chasing it like this, I could end up losing this level 100 boar, which boasted unlimited stamina. The fourth circle magic I had memorized in my head came to mind. The most practical magic I could use in the forest is the strongest of the fourth circle wind spells, Wind Cutter. I was about 10 meters away from the fleeing boar. Wind Cutter was worth a try, even if it was 20 meters away. Pork, I'll eat you for Sorcery. I stopped running. Wind Cutter. While paused, I spread out my hands and cast the magic I had memorized. Zing! For a moment, my will and mana resonated with the mana of the earth. Magic flashing with blue mana manifested in the time it took to blink. Whoosh! Suddenly, a roar ripped through the forest like a motorbike gangster passing by on his chopper. Holy shit! With an explosion, a semicircle of several blue blades of light were somehow already flying away. The wind blades flew forth like an arrow, shredding big, dense trees and scrub that had stubbornly blocked my way just moments ago into hundreds of pieces, blowing them away. I'm impressive. I'd practiced magic at my place on the cliff, but it was the first time I had used a memorized spell with such force. I had been careful to control my mana, since it could shock the villagers, who were skittish and weak of heart. That said, the view I saw after preparing myself and casting that fourth circle magic, everything over the 20-meter expanse ahead of me had been razed to the ground. So, this is why mages get special treatment. It was difficult to manifest magic, but its strength was in its flashiness and sheer destructive power. I was suddenly super proud of myself. Gay, the boar is. I was nodding to myself at the satisfying spectacle I had created and contemplating my genius when I suddenly remembered the goal of my life and death struggles, Mr. Boar. It was gone. There was no big lump of boar to be found anywhere in the forest, which had been raised as clean as an asphalt road. Thursday thud. I quickly ran in the direction the boar had fled. This is damn it. As expected, the boar had run about 20 meters away. Like slabs of meat cut up nicely at the butcher's, the 10 or so parts of the boar were lying nicely amongst the fallen trees. Asterisk. I can't see a single monster, much less a demon beast. Perhaps due to their horrifying past, the villagers refused to leave the village for the past month after the rising of Luina's moon. I wanted to browse some of the demon beasts they had mentioned, but only this pitiful boar was caught and sent to the other world. Oh, Cecile will probably be happy, yeah? I took a few pieces of rib and leg meat from the divided boar, tied them with the tough branches of a thick tree, and headed towards the village. The villagers who ate potatoes and barley bread every day prickle my conscience. There are mushrooms here. With a happy heart, I noticed mushrooms as soon as I passed by the spot where I had first found the boar. Several brown mushrooms had been uncovered by the boar as it rooted through the ground. They were covered by the leaves. They smell great. The strong smell of the forest assaulted me as soon as I stepped foot into it, so I hadn't detected the fragrance of the mushrooms. After pushing aside the leaves, the brown-patterned, fist-sized mushrooms emit a sweet smell. Grilled pork and mushrooms, it's perfect. I would have liked a basket, but I only had the 2 small pockets on my clothes. I picked a few of the most tasty-looking mushrooms and put them in my pockets. 2 nights and 3 days, a wilderness variety show. It'd be perfect if I just invite Mr. Hodong. 10, referring to Kang Hodong, who was in the popular Korean variety show 1 night and 2 days. If I were still in Korea, I would still be watching 2 nights and 3 days every weekend. I wanted to give the idols in it a taste of the brutal reality that I was suffering right now. But what is this feeling? As I was walking towards the village with the considerably heavy meat, I got chills, making me stop for a moment. I felt eyes on my back, as if someone was watching me. Am I just imagining it? After mana had developed my senses, I could feel all sorts of energies around me. This is weird. Tilting my head, I quickened my pace. My hair was standing on end, as if I were hearing ghost stories from my childhood. It wasn't a good feeling. Asterisk. What is this? Can't you tell just from looking at it? It's called meat. It has various nutrients, including protein and lipids, and it is an absolutely necessary food for survival. Protein, lipids, nutrients. In my earth terminology, Hans blinked slowly like a cow. Hyung, how did you know? Last night, I dreamed about eating meat. Yippee, you're my Kyer Hyung, the person I admire second most, after all. Rascal, so now you recognize your big bro's merit. I patted Darren's head. His eyes had gone round at the sight of the meat. You went into the forest? It's dangerous. As soon as I took the meat and entered the house, I saw Hans, who was carving wood into various goods, and Cecile. Having heard the rumor that I had appeared with meat, Darren ran in and now they were all staring round-eyed at the fresh boar. You, who are you really? Last month you caught a mater, and now you've single-handedly hunted a boar from the dangerous forest. Were you a mercenary in the past? Unable to even consider that I might be a mage, Hans was suspicious of me being a mere mercenary. I may look like this, but at one point I was pretty amazing. Cecile, I look forward to dinner today as well. Yes. I lightly sidestep Hans' question. Ain't she a cute thing when she's acting shy? I looked fondly at Cecile, whose face had gone red. Hans, this mushroom, does it happen to be edible? I pulled out the mushrooms I picked from the forest. Gay. That is. Sorcery mushroom. What? Is it poisonous? Hans and Cecile were shocked by the mushroom. Where did you find that? I found it in the forest, of course. The boar was eating it, so I thought they were edible and picked some, but are they poisonous? At Hans' shocked words, I started feeling like I had wasted my time. Let's go. Let's hurry to the chief. His pupils fixed on the mushrooms, Hans dragged me excitedly along. What? Why is he so excited over a few mushrooms? I'm hella hungry. Thoughts of roasted pork was dancing in my head. Just thinking about the taste of meat roasted on a hot pan with onions and mushrooms made me drool. Oh, dear God, thank you. As he went outside, Hans drew a cross and thanked God. I followed behind him, holding a few mushrooms. Do I have to give the chief's house some meat? I was in my own way, entertaining some kind thoughts. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Aren't these sharif? Yes, chief. They are definitely sharif mushrooms. Upon seeing the mushrooms, the chief was just as excited. My word, with a sharif mushroom this big, it'll sell for a few gold in an instant. We couldn't find anything this size in the forest even 10 years ago. I didn't know I would see a sharif mushroom again in this lifetime. Gay, a few gold. After hearing that the mushrooms the boar had been idly eating as a snack could sell for several gold coins sprang naturally to my mind. The village was so poor that I hadn't been able to see a single gold coin, so the word gold was not without weight. How much gold did you say this will sell for? I asked. Where did you find these? In the forest, of course. It wasn't just one or two, but easily several hundred. Several hundred? A rough glance had told me as much. Wow, what the hell is this place? There were the fish, which netted a few gold each, and even the mushrooms. My mind worked quickly. I can't go out into the world empty-handed, can I? I'll need magic crystal dust to practice magic circles, and I don't have a staff. I'll also need to buy a sturdy sword. There weren't just one or two places where I could use my money. Oh, I'll catch some tuna and pick some mushrooms and I'll be set. The villagers were scared, so they couldn't go in, but I wasn't afraid of the forest at all. Besides these mushrooms, are there perhaps other things that sell well? Information was money. Since long ago, our village was famous for sharif mushrooms. Even the soldiers weren't able to go deep into the forest because of the demon beasts, so we were only able to eke a living off SOSO sharif mushrooms and the mater we caught occasionally. Besides the sharif mushroom, there's also the rooty mushroom, which survives on tree sap, as well as puidin, which mages use in their research, and various herbs, like castle. There are quite a few things that are valuable there. I won't have to be greedy. They said the mater wouldn't leave the waters by the village for another 2 months, and I only need a basket for the mushrooms. Cuckoo. I could catch a pheasant, get its eggs, use its feathers for quills, and sweep for floor for money. That's exactly how I felt right now. Do you think that the villagers could go with you tomorrow? Chief asked carefully. For nearly a month, the chief had been sighing while looking at the harvested grains. With less farmable land, it seemed that the harvest was insufficient for paying the taxes and buying potions on top of that. But chief, won't it be too dangerous? Young Kyre was able to return safely from the forest thanks to the goddess of fortune, but something bad will happen if he takes the villagers, too, said Hans, putting the brakes on the chief's words. I know, but what can we do? I have to go to the castle in a few days to pay the taxes, but all we have are potatoes and barley. If we can't pay our taxes and buy at least 10 potions this time, all our villagers will have to become serfs next year. Apparently, eking out a living was a pain in the ass whether you were here or in the 21st century. Those who had the means could spend and spend, but the commoners at the bottom had to break their backs every day to live. Whatever, it's not going to cost me, so I might as well help them. In any case, I wanted to go out into the world before winter came. I needed to see the wide world in order to earn the enlightenment that hadn't come after the fourth circle. It could be dangerous if the villagers come with me, so I'll go alone. Alone? No. I know there's something about you that's quite reliable, but the month of Luina's rising moon is dangerous, said Chief, talking me out of it while shaking his hand. Going alone is more comfortable for me, and you need to go quite a ways to find the Sharif mushrooms. The villagers will get hurt for no reason if we run into a monster or something. Even so, the chief weighed the taxes with my safety. Chief, it said that those who believe shall be rewarded, I said, filling my eyes with unwavering conviction. I was uneasy because if I went with the villagers, the skills that I didn't yet want known would come to light. Will you be all right? Making an apologetic face, he reaffirmed whether or not I would be okay. The old man looked like he would follow me if he were only 10 years younger. Just believe in me. Tomorrow, I'll pick more than enough Sharif mushrooms to have money left over even after paying the taxes. I puffed out my chest and laughed heartily. The pretty Cecile, sure, is kind la 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 la. Praise about Cecile was bursting out of me all on its own. The moment we returned from the chief's house, I found out that the kind chef Cecile had prepared easy-to-eat meat stew and grilled pork. On top of that, she had put aside the meat we would be eating and shared a hunk of meat with the villagers who were hovering around. Then, morning came around. With a huge basket half as large as me strapped to my back, I walked towards the forest. Oh, who would have thought the Sharif mushrooms would taste like that? The Sharif mushrooms had the fragrance and chewiness of the Gangwando Matsutake mushrooms I'd eaten at some point. And my vehement question of how much gold a single one would sell for, I was able to eat a Sharif mushroom, a delicacy eaten by nobles, grilled with the pork. Kaya, I'd be in heaven if only I had a glass of alcohol. Even now, I found that moment regrettable. Perhaps because the village was so devastatingly poor, they didn't have the barley or wheat to make beer. They probably couldn't waste what little they had on drinks when it was difficult enough to get by. I'd better buy some alcohol when I go to the castle. I might be a minor in Korea, but here, I was treated like a capable adult. How could I forget the taste of the liquor I had occasionally stolen sips of from my father? I was imagining various enjoyable things while walking into the forest. Zing! Suddenly, I felt a subtle sharpness. While moving, I kept my guard up. I'd taken up a creed of constant vigilance after getting stabbed by the Triad gangster, so I heightened my senses and prepared for a monster or a demon beast. Something's there. I wasn't sure yesterday, but now I was certain that something was watching me from somewhere. Is it a monster or a demon beast? Even knights wielding Aura Blade had a hard time facing demon beasts. I'd want to meet one once to check my skills, so, although I was on edge, I didn't feel a hint of terror. It's clever. Once I tensed up, the creature hid its presence, as if it were suggesting that we play hide and seek. I'll wait. There's no hurry. I had as much time as I wanted, after all. With an easygoing attitude, I slowly moved to the Sharif mushrooms location. In my hand was a sword, and in my head were thoughts of the spells I had prepared for combat. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Arrow. Wham. Ho. Magic sure is convenient. Hit by my arrow magic, a mushroom the size of one's head fell cleanly to the ground. Even without using fly or levitation, I could pick the rooty mushrooms at least 10 meters above the ground. Don't Sanghuang mushrooms look like this? Tien. Sanghuang mushrooms, or Felinus lentius, are medicinal fungi used in Asian countries. Without looking carefully, the rooty mushrooms couldn't be distinguished from a tree. They looked like the Sanghuang mushrooms that my father had submerged in alcohol back at home. They're 100% natural, and they've even grown up sucking the life force from these trees, so they'd probably be pretty good medicine, eh? In Seoul, there had been no chance for me to consume tonics. My parents, on the other hand, used their age as an excuse to regularly eat red ginseng and natural Korean honey. But to me, they said ridiculous things like how at my age, one could eat through steel. Am I some sort of circus man? And gave me normal food. I've hit jackpot today. I picked the leftover Sharif mushrooms that the boar had been eating, which took up a considerable amount of space, and also packed up mushrooms that looked valuable, including the rooty mushrooms. Yeah, there's a path here. After struggling on the mountain for some time and filling up my basket, I discovered a small path. This is... In the brief moment while I was staring at the path and thinking, a metallic smell assailed my nose. The smell of blood. The unforgettable smell you could experience during a full-on nosebleed, the smell of blood, assailed my nostrils. I quickly roused myself. An ominous thought came to my mind. With this level of smell, it's got to be a lot of blood had to be spilled for the smell to cut through the forest odors. Thump. Activating my mana, I quickly moved along the path. Then, I was forced to stop at the sight that soon appeared before me. The enormous forest ended, opening to an open space atop a rather large ridge. Wooden houses and fences were clustered together. Orcs. The race I was meeting for the first time, orcs. I had seen them so often in fantasy novels and movies that I could recognize them at first sight. They were all lying down. The corpses of 100 or so orcs, ripped to pieces, were scattered around huts and fences. They died without being able to put up a fight. The orcs were clearly short, but looked sturdy. Despite having spears, swords, and even shields like humans did, the orcs had all perished, spilling their blue blood. And each orc had one wound each, as if they had been killed one at a time. Swoosh! Then, I felt a single breeze. All the hairs on my body bristled up. Even without turning around to look, I felt an unfamiliar fear. Demon beast. It was the creature. Thump, thump. My heart raced. I felt an aura so sharp that it was incomparable with the time I had met the Triad gangsters. I slowly turned. A low groan escaped me. Exactly 15 meters away from me was a panther-like animal with golden stripes. But unlike a panther, the protruding fangs looked sharp enough to send most things to the netherworld in a single strike. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Gruel. This guy killed them. This was the one that had torn 100 orcs to shreds. I didn't know what it was called, but its body, which was well over 3 meters long, was smeared all over with blue orc blood. Hi, we're meeting for the first time, aren't we, friend? Ha ha ha. There was no better cure for fear than laughter. I put the basket on the ground, since it would get in the way of battle, and grasped my sword with both hands. So, it has hide tough enough to block Aura Blade and most magic, huh? According to the chief, who had hunted a demon beast with knights when he was young, the hide of a beast was tough and sturdy enough to simply deflect low circle magic and weak Aura Blades. Shine. Those claws are no joke. It must have been entering battle mode, because long black claws extended like retractable cat claws. Most people's hearts would freeze just seeing that. Now I can understand why the villagers were so afraid of demon beasts. Its savageness is no joke. It seemed like wild creatures actually did get stronger during Luina's moon, the nasty season of the black moon that agitated the blood of demon beasts and monsters. Gruel. The beast's eyes glowed bright red. Bam! Suddenly, it disappeared from my view. Air shield. Crash. I cast the fast-activating shield magic the same time it disappeared, and the beast's claws plunged into the air shield just as it began to form. It's fast. It had incredible mobility unbefitting its size, like a Porsche engine on a Tico car. TN. A Tico is a Korean car manufactured by Daewoo. It's a pretty bulky car. Crunch. Crack. Crack. Gay why you? The beast was tearing the almost complete air shield with its sharp claws, bringing the shield to near breaking point. Take this. You'd be a bonehead if you were just sit there and watch the shield shatter. I drew mana into the sword as I forcefully thrust towards the beast's stomach. Clang. Hoshit. What the hell? I thought it was monstrous, but I didn't know it would be this strong. The beast blocked the aura blade with all my strength behind it, using its claws. But the problem wasn't that it had blocked, but that the demon beast's claws were like steel, and that I only had one sword when the creature had 4 claws to a paw. Crack! The shield shattered, and with a shirring, the beast's black, steely claws came flying towards me in that moment. Hiya! Drawing back my sword, I ducked and made a horizontal cut towards the beast's belly. Leap! But the golden panther, showing great jumping ability, leapt backwards. Leaving behind an afterimage, it withdrew like a phantom. HNG. Won't this be a bitch with the 4th circle? Unlike the confidence I'd had when entering the forest, I was now struck with a sense of crisis. Growl. As if unhappy with what I had caused it to suffer just moments before, the beast growled as it licked its paw. This wouldn't end easily. It's already almost evening. If the moon rises, it'll be dangerous. Luina's moon had become visible a month ago. Luina, a black-colored moon, loomed next to a silver moon that hung in the sky like a silver platter. Its moonlight gave off such an eerie feeling that simply looking at it made you tremble. That was the moon would soon rise. I'd gone quite deep into the forest while gathering mushrooms and hadn't noticed the time. The beast didn't even need the moon to rise. The impatient beast flung out its 4 paws and once again drew close. Hold! I cast the 3rd circle hole magic I had memorized. As was appropriate for hold cast by a 4th circle mage, it quickly took effect. The demon beast's body flinched for a moment. A chance. It was a clever bastard, but it was clueless about me. In a moment, its body was frozen in midair by an invisible spell. I drew mana and strength into my sword and thrust with all my might towards its stomach. With a squelching sound, I felt the sword sinking in deeply. The sensation in my hand was so forceful that I got goosebumps. Grayer. Shirring. Gah. But the bastard didn't die from something trivial like getting stabbed in the stomach. A huge roar burst from its maw, and a claw swung towards my head. Ah! I shouted loudly, while flailing like a windmill to dodge backwards. That was close. It was great that the aura-bladed sword had embedded itself deeply in the beast's stomach, but it seemed like the bastard's vitality was greater than that of a troll, something I'd only heard of. Ruhar. Since its attack hadn't gone as planned, the beast roared into the sky. I see, that's it. I'd lost my sword, but opportunity came hand in hand with crisis. A spell flashed into my head. Zoom! Beside itself with frustration, the beast flung itself forward despite having been stabbed in the belly. Lightning! A magic incantation resounded in the air. The beast's hide was resistant to magic, but its insides probably weren't. Zid 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 zid. Lightning magic arced towards the beast's stomach as it flew in mid-air towards me. Yelp! Yelp 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 yelp. Why does it sound like a dog? No matter how much pain it was in, a panther shouldn't make sounds like a dog. Having been hit in the stomach with lightning, the demon beast fell to the ground and cried without any dignity like a plaintive mutt. Flail! Flail! But even that was short-lived. After frothing at the mouth and seizing violently, the golden panther that was called a demon beast lost its will to live, and the light went out of its eyes. I tried poking it with my foot, but it was just a big, motionless lump of flesh. Ooh ha 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 ha. I'm a magic genius after all. Having confirmed that the demon beast had completely crossed the river Styx, a cheer burst out of me. No matter how you thought of it, this was a perfect magic combo. Who in the world could rise to the fourth circle after less than 1 year of learning magic? Even Master wouldn't have been able to do it if he had come here wearing just his panties. Lala, I've made money. I made money. It was said that a demon beast couldn't be skinned with a regular knife. It could only be done safely with Aura Blade. Shall I try making some money now? I licked my lips as I approached the body of the beast whose soul was probably already sobbing at the gates of hell. I guess people leave insurance money when they die and demon beasts leave behind lotteries when they die. Delight filled my heart. Confirming once again that the heavens rewarded those who worked hard, I busied my hands. I wanted to quickly share this happy news with Cecile, Hans, and the chief, who were probably all waiting anxiously for me.